We in, buddy.
All right.
Welcome to Emancipated Studio. Welcome my uncle, Uncle Stu, the old man on the block.
Salute, 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 salute. I want everyone to forgive what happened. No, I wasn't struggle streaming. What we had going on was a serious technical issue with StreamYard. And it was so bad that even Edward Anderson was trying to get in on his side. So we definitely knew it was a technical issue. And Lord knows, y'all was ready, because 30 seconds, I like, well, we'll just redo this stream a different day. And bam, it became available. So I want everybody to know that we are going to be rocking and rolling in here tonight. And I'm going to let everybody know that tonight, this stream is not only about the man in the back, but tonight we also want to give honor where honor needs to be due. A lot of us on this side of the aisle came through the umbrella of the lead attorney. And the lead attorney ushered in a group of men and women, but let's talk about the standards that TLA ushered in. He told all of us that was over 40 that we need to come in to help. At the time, he would say the manosphere. And we was to come in with our knowledge, our skills, and our understandings. He also said that we are to come in ready for the mission. Ready to take our skills, our knowledge, and put it to work. And most of all, we was to have solutions. And TLA not only gave us the mission, but he told us to produce results. And TLA continued to cry that mission. Tonight, for many of us that came through the camp of TLA, we want to say thank you, sir. Your leadership, your mannerism, and your vision is being fulfilled right now. Many of us are on our way to achieving the goals that you set. You want us to be mission focused and results driven, as my mentor El Guapo would say. And we have come here to do just that. Serve the people. And by the grace of God, we are pushing forward. And TLA, you have set the bar high, but we don't have a problem going high with you. TLA, we watch you go from little to big. And yet your humility is still down here with us. We watched you be attacked, but tonight we're going to watch you receive your praise. So ladies and gentlemen, he's not in the back, but I know he's listening. So TLA, to all of us who has come through you, both big and small, we salute you, sir, and we say thank you for setting the standards. Now tonight, there's a whole lot of people in the chat, so I can't read them all off. But tonight I got to say, when the millennials needed a voice, they called this man. And when Bernard Raleigh needed somebody to shake things up, he called this man. And when TLA just needed to understand some things, he called this man. And because we got situations going on in this space, we had to call this man. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to give it up for the one and only Edward Anderson. What's going on, sir? What's going on? Now Edward Anderson is struggle streaming. Can't hear you.
Oh, I just got it on mute. Yeah, so what's up, man? Yeah, man, you should have been pastor, man, for real. I don't know if I can live up to that introduction.
Look, you the man. I mean, a lot of people don't know, so I'll give them a quick backdrop. I heard you. I know you out of North Carolina, and you started talking about a whole lot of North Carolina issues. I lived in North Carolina. I was there during that Duke lacrosse situation. And the way you analyzed that Duke lacrosse situation, I said, this brother got some good analytical skills. I was called a sellout because I didn't believe her story from the beginning. And you busted that whole story down without adding $1, anything dealing with racism. You blended it straight. You saw it just as I saw it. I tell you something else that's so impressive. A lot of people don't know how young you are. But your skills and your knowledge, your wisdom, your foresight is impeccable. It is impeccable. So I salute you, sir, for being a man who stood up when a lot of people laid down. So you deserve your praise.
No, I appreciate that. You know, originally I grew up in North Carolina, so I will say that. But, technically my whole family's from Chicago. I'm technically from Chicago. I was actually born in Los Angeles. I've been everywhere, but I did grow up, go to middle school, high school, and am still in North Carolina. As far as the Duke lacrosse situation, if something's racial, I'll call it what it is.
Right.
But I'm not gonna. It's not even that I need a whole bunch of stuff to be done before I call something racial. Like, even technically, when you look at the Ryan Coogler situation, you can argue that's racially motivated, but a white person didn't call the cops. It was a Caribbean black female that called the cops.
Right.
So we gotta put all the information in there because there's other things going on. There's a guy that did radio in the Raleigh area. His name is Warren Ballantyne. Really good dude.
I remember him, yeah.
Yeah, and he really good dude. And he's still around, but he used to talk about the DNA of America is race, class, and gender. We tend to not talk about the class and gender part because that's where you get a little bit too deeper than what people are willing to go. But go ahead.
Let me ask you this, because you said that, but I'm from New York, and we deal with class, race in that same area, because if you're a certain class, you're mixed in a certain race. When we bring up race, it's more from the cultural perspective. Like, you got your Black Americans, but you'll have your Italian Americans, Asian Americans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you went to school, it was more on a class basis than it was on a race basis.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different, in New York. So we definitely can, that would be a for later, conversation. You've been in this space, and if I can, I'm going to be coming so that everybody understands. I'm coming from the angle of the TLA wing, and I've made it kind of specific of the TLA wing because a lot of us came into this space really not understanding what we was coming into. We thought we was coming into, the business of YouTube, learning how to do live streams, turn around. Some of us were starting to, do videos. And we basically came in to say, okay, what's the problem? What can we bring as solutions? Later on, a lot of us got jammed up because I would say collectively, it was like, okay, wait a minute. We're putting this out here, but then we're seeing all kinds of other stuff that was going on that we couldn't even figure out. Then we learned later on, it's a whole lot of politics or a whole lot of division or a whole lot of beefs. And a lot of us are trying to stay out of it like, okay, we don't understand what that is. And then when TLA had his live, we were seeing people we ain't never seen before. So are you able to kind of clear that up for us and kind of get a basic understanding of what this quote black manosphere is?
Yeah, so the thoughts and opinions of Edward is that thereof the thoughts and opinions of Edward, because I tend to say stuff and then people will sit here and try to, even though I know what I'm saying is on point, people may have different opinions of this, and so I'll put that out there. I will also say the manosphere is different things to different people.
Okay.
So, for instance, when you look at, like, I'm not even going to go into deeper, like you have factions. So here's the thing: you have the black male niche. You have the black niche, the black relationship niche, and our side of that, because the women have their own complete other thing with the stuff they talk about. And then you have the black male niche, which is pretty much black men talking either from their perspectives, from their point of view, and advocacies. And then you have the black manosphere is kind of like a hub within that.
Okay. So
If
it's
that
not
makes sense.
really, yeah, it does. So it's not necessarily a monolithic group. It's really
No.
just a collective group of black males.
Correct.
One of the questions that came to me is there any how would you know who is black manosphere versus just being a black male content creator?
You don't. Like, the reality is usually they'll claim it. I mean, the problem with the audience, and this is what I keep saying, is that people will see a black man and assume they're in the space just because they're a black man making YouTube videos about, and they may agree with some things that are red pill related, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily in the space. The way the space came to be is, so there's what we call like a 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. 1.0, you don't really see a lot of content creators from 1.0 like that, because things, because this is when YouTube was like a different space. You know, you have people like Soul and Black, you know, Hardcore Tito, Thugtician, SWP, you know, Sergeant Willie Pete. I'm just trying to pay homage to those guys.
Right.
Basically, you know, people will say Tommy Sotomayor was the first, and then you'll say they kind of came at the same time. And they had the conversation was a little bit different because that was more like 2008 to 2012 or
Okay.
11, you know, so it was a different conversation. It was a different time. You know, Obama was in the White House, stuff like that. You had the housing crisis, you know, an aftermath of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then YouTube was in a different place. So pretty much with YouTube, they had this thing called the apocalypse. And this is where, and at the same time, a lot of folks were attacking our channels because they just didn't like the fact that black men had an opinion. And the stuff we say now is then was nowhere near like some of the stuff that we say now. It was a lot more diplomatic. What's the issue, going back and forth with what the points were. And people used that. Obsidian was there at the time too. There's a couple people that were there back then too. And people weaponized the fact that YouTube was rotating a lot of their ads because their advertisers didn't want their content coming up against stuff that may not be mainstream friendly. That was whether it was us, whether it's maybe some more of the hardcore conservative talking points. It was a lot of different stuff, right?
Right.
And whether it's hardcore or not, it was that balance that YouTube was trying to strike with their advertiser base. And so what they started doing was shutting down channels. And people used that as a way to flag channels down. And a lot of people never recovered from that. So they created this list that had a whole bunch of channels on there. And this is actually before I actually had a channel. And a lot of people found each other through that. So that's kind of like one of the ways that what you see now was kind of an offset of that, where you really see it today. And then you have people that really have kind of carried on from that. And so what you're really referencing when you look at the lead attorney, and the lead attorney obviously had a channel before, or not obviously, he had a channel before Kevin.
Right.
But a lot of people benefited from Kevin. It's not even so much Kevin. It's really also the environment of people, the pandemic, people being in their house more, watching YouTube more, you know, and then Kevin a lot of people found Kevin offline, and they found people, and people like Lead Attorney and others were able to benefit from that. But they did what they did on their own. You know, so you have like this post Kevin Samuels blowing up group that created a lot of audiences, whether they're men and women. You had people like the Lapeep Network and stuff where they had a channel, and then people benefited. I'm not saying that everybody owes Kevin everything. I'm just saying that's how the traffic the algorithm and the niche kind of shifted. And then you had channels that benefited, like Poor Man Mediocre, O'Shea helping other people out too. And so people are coming in with different perspectives because they don't have that history. And when I say history, I mean like there's cycles. The thing that Kevin brought into the space, and Lead Attorney has done this too, is when you hear things out of women's own mouth, it hits different than when dudes are just saying what they're saying.
Right.
And so before you could collab with women, but a lot of times because women have an advantage on social media because they can pull from both groups. Number one, number two, they can lean more on their looks. Not all of them, but they can. And then women tend to trauma bond or bond with other women because they're more social than men are generally, and that's going to reflect it on social media. So they're and then obviously because of YouTube being more feminist minded, they're not going to be as likely to stamp women's channels or shadow ban it. Now I've seen them shadow ban black women's channels that are in business and other stuff. So it's not to say it never happens, but it's less likely to happen. So women can kind of grow a little bit better. And it is what it is. It's not me complaining. It is what it is.
Right.
When black women are also on social media a lot more than black men are, and they're going to be reflective in the relationship space more than men are going to be, just like how men are going to be in sports more. So the point is that you have new people with newer perspective where they haven't really seen some of the stuff that certain women have said or crazy stuff. So they have more of a olive branch mentality, and that's fine because eventually folks are going to do what they're going to do. So, so what you see is a lot of dudes trying to catch folks up and download a lot of information really quickly into folks, rather than letting people come to this stuff, trusting that the environment's the environment and people will find stuff out on their own.
Gotcha. I'm gonna bring another question to you that again, I'm speaking more from the TLA side and the content creator side. Some of the things that they have brought to my attention, which is we have a lot of guys in this space that is always behind memes. We see a lot of meme wearing. Is there a reason behind that?
Memes?
Memes, like being behind pictures and stuff.
Well, that's. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's like if we got an understanding of that stuff, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, we know what we're looking at, because what you just brought to the table gives us a great deal of understanding in the backdrop of things.
Yeah, well, and social media, I mean, most people don't really put a picture on their face on YouTube anyway, and that's true on the women's side as well. Men, one of the reasons why men don't do it is because people have tried to contact people's place of employment to get them fired. That has happened. That has happened to content creators. That has happened to even audience people. And you have dudes that are in IT in different fields where, because there's policies now that, if you're on social media, they can hold you accountable if they don't like it. It doesn't matter what you're doing. They can just say they don't like it. You may be tied to the company, and and they can make a judgment call on that. That's why the dudes do it. And that's how it was a lot. And it was a lot more like that back in the day. Now that you have things like remote work and stuff like that, it's a different climate. So people you got to remember the folks that are showing their face. A lot of times, a lot of these dudes are more entrepreneurial. They control their own practices. Some dudes have jobs, but some of the things that kind of need to be said, and there's a way to say it, but the truth is, a lot of this is politics mixed with people's economics, and sometimes you got to pay attention to that. It is what it is. But that's kind of why that is. Now, a lot of people like to say that it's just people in their basement that are not real. Well, the people that are out here now, TLA, Lead Attorney, other folks, that's proof that was never true. But that's the argument, that incel, the other argument, But anyway. Yeah.
And I guess the last question that I think that has resonated with us is from your vantage point, and being that you have the history, where do you see us, coming in through the Lead Attorney? Because some of us don't necessarily say we're manosphere, we're just here. Some of us will say we're in the manosphere, which, I know those that is directly in the manosphere. Some of us is like, we don't know if we in or out. We just here to serve as men. Like I have what I would define as a male channel, because 70% of the people that watch me is men. I only have 30% women. most of the people that support me all the time is men.
Yeah, I mean, it's the name isn't the most important thing. People, the thing is like there's no club where you're in it, you're not. The black manosphere is really just a thing because even O'Shea had the Negro Manosphere website. And
Okay.
so it's a name. What it's designed to do is really talk about black male advocacy, however form that takes. This is how I look at it. People
Okay.
ask me, what is the main goal of Black Manosphere? In my opinion, what it should be is the number one thing that we every last one of us should agree to
Mm-hmm.
is that to network as many black men as possible, to create a pipeline with the 12 million black men, black male adults I'm talking about. That's just like how when you see Hispanics have their local newspaper in Spanish or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, create a digital pipeline. Under that is the advocacy things that black men believe in. You may believe in certain things that are different than I believe in.
Right.
You have a lot of dudes that believe in, getting dudes in the tech, getting dudes in the jobs, showing them the opportunities that are there that they may not think are there because of whatever reason. I mean, I didn't know you could join the military up until you was 35 years old, or like the reserves and stuff. Getting information to these young dudes, being kind of that big brother thing, they'll and there's nothing wrong with that, the productivity thing, but that's not the most
Right.
popular things with the algorithm. You have people like me where I'm more of an anti-propaganda guy. I'm here like we need to have a candid conversation, tell the truth about what's going on, where the L's that black men got a hold cool, but everything ain't black men's fault. And I'm not gonna
Right.
sit here and live in a world where I gotta be in perpetual apology because black women and certain black women made decisions that they are empowered to make, and they didn't go the way they wanted. So now everything is every black man's fault. And black women have been able to do that for decades. We all know it. We all see it. I grew up with Montel, Ricky Lake, Oprah Winfrey, talking about dudes either on the down low, blah, 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 blah. Maury just ended after 30 years. It's almost as old as me. So my
Right.
point is, black men have a side of the story, and I'm here to get the truth out. I wish the truth was all niggas want shit, because it'd be it would be a direct line to how to resolve the problem, but it ain't. So, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about today, on the trust side of it.
Right.
And people say, well, why is that necessary? Because if we don't do that, you got black women talk about the number one killer of black women is black men. And they just let that rock, and just a lot of this media and stuff. Number one, it puts black men in a position where they think they're evil. They're in a perpetual guilt, you know, and you have women that they don't know what up is down. They're sitting there advocating for experiences they never even lived. They talking
Right.
about The Color Purple like it's a fucking nonfiction work. I promise you, if you poll black people and ask them was The Color Purple based on a true story, most black people, and I'm talking about black men and black women, would say
Right.
yeah. Go
Let
ahead.
me let's go down that hole. I'm not gonna lie, I never really heard that until I came into YouTube. That whole philosophy. But my question would be then, speak to my female, the few females I got up in here. Speak to them about that whole philosophy, that whole ideology, because if they get it from Kevin Samuels, it goes down the toilet because of the way you speak. Can you matter of fact, give it to everybody. Can you give us your understanding of where this stuff is coming from?
I mean, if you don't like Kevin, you ain't gonna like me, because I'm way worse than Kevin.
Look, everybody already know you came in here, you coming to hear some men talk. So let's go. Let's do it.
So, I mean, from the trust standpoint, trust is a non-renewable resource. What does that mean? Think of it like fossil fuels. Fossil fuels took thousands, millions of years in order to create. As far as impact, as far as hard, the earth, it's not something that can be renewed. Think of it like trees too. Trees take about 30 years to grow, or kind of 20 years. You get what I'm saying? Europe used to be full of forests. Look at it now. They talk about that with the Brazilian, the Amazon. So trust is like that amongst a group. And what you've looked at amongst generations is an erosion of trust. Now, black women have never really trusted black men, but black men have bared that burden. But now what you're starting to see is black men as a group don't trust black women. So things such as your mama black, you hate yourself? What about us as a people? These things are less effective as you get younger and younger. You can see the Z's, they don't even really respond to that. The millennials kind of do, and the Xers definitely do. And you can see that generation because nobody are really addressing what's really going on. Nobody's being honest. So that's kind of, and then also I would ask, number one, number two, there's no social contract amongst black men and black women anymore, and it hasn't been for a long time. Number three, we're going to talk about checks and balances and the lack thereof. All checks and balances are against black men. There are no checks and balances legally, socially, culturally, and on black female fuckery. There's not. And so as a result, these things all feed into trust. So, and you see it manifest the most in disease, which is why you see a lot of young women coming up talking about why are these young black men skipping them straight up, because they're not trying to participate in the stuff they saw like their mama doing and stuff like that. And they're willing. See, millennials weren't willing to say that up front. Z's are. They don't care. And then also you got to look at it overall, where you have in shout out to BGS, the Americans has a policy of integration and mixing, even against even white people don't necessarily want it. And part of breaking up black neighborhoods is one of the last real things to do it. That's that class thing you were talking about in New York, but spread everywhere. You see that in LA, you see that in Miami, you see that in a lot of other groups. And so they don't mix you in with white people, they're going to mix you in with Latin people. There are no real black enclaves like that. There's a few, but not like that. And you see a lot of the cities are getting less black. DC, Atlanta, even in New York to a certain extent, as a lot of them are emptying out, and the other parts going south because of the cost of living, stuff like that, LA. So this is a real problem, and this is a real problem that has a real clock. See, a lot of people tend, and this is not just true for women, the men tend to think we have a lot of time. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't. The oldest Z's are 24.
Okay.
And in 6 years, they'll be 30, meaning they'll occupy the prime dating market amongst women. So you're and then COVID and this pandemic, the pandemic sped stuff up. We thought a lot of stuff, you had 10, 15 years. A lot of this stuff cut that in half, at least. We're not even talking about the war in Ukraine and all that stuff.
Right,
so a lot of stuff as far as like changing the environment in a very extremely rapid way, which is one of the things that paved the way for Kevin rising, because people were looking for an answer and somebody could really kind of embody because there's other dudes that have answers, but what people would gravitate to, he was able to kind of piggyback off of that. And so, but a lot of women just think it's a situation where you can just talk black men. And here's another problem, and I'm going to say this too, and then you can ask me another question. Okay. The biggest problem, the concern that a lot of dudes in the black manosphere have, and this is true because you got people that are married to black women in the black manosphere. SYSBM and the black manosphere are actually two different things. And that's by, and the person that created SYSBM, Matt Bus Driver, SYSBM stands for Save Yourself Black Men, which is, you could argue is divest, but it's not the same. He has said it is a different thing than the black manosphere, because the black manosphere is more in want to have a conversation with black women on black community issues. That's why SBM is about releasing yourself from all of that.
Gotcha.
So a lot of people don't know it's actually a separate thing. And you can see that reflected when you look at a lot of polls. When Kevin has done shows about black men dating out, he just did one yesterday, at least half, if not more, black men are advocating for just dealing with black women. And a lot of them are advocating for just dealing with ADOS black women. So, but at the same time, I'll leave it at that, but just keep that in mind. But at the same time, dudes, if you got dudes that ain't got kids, if they want families or they want something, I mean, that's gonna go one way eventually. And that's what I was saying. The concern of the black manosphere is that a lot of times the new guys tend to want, it's almost like dudes show up wanting to bend the knee. They show up with wanting to have a formal quote unquote conversation with women. And the only thing women got to do is just not be a bitch. Just act nice, act like somewhat agreeable. And then dudes are just wanting to give away the store saying, what can I do for you? Not what can we do for each other, but what can I do for you? All stands on black men. And that's what we tend to see. Now, Lead Attorney has not done that. He'll hear women out, but won't do that. Same thing with Dennis. But a lot of the smaller creators, it's like they want to show up for women's validation. And where we agree, but but I'm not gonna let go a certain, like, I'm not, the greatest power a black man has is his power of choice. And even if black men say, I am not dead dealing with other races of women because I want my kids to look like me. Let's say a black man's like that. A black man still has a billion black women to choose from as far as intercultural dating. I'm one of the ones that brought that into the mix. Rest in peace, Charles Tyler, who talked about that too. But I'm one of the ones that brought that in the current thing, dating non-ADOS black women as a mechanism of creating a maximum choice you have. Because like in economics, the more choice you have, the greater power the consumer has. And women have choices too. If women date dudes that are in the diaspora, I have no problem with that. In my channel, I tell women, if black men ain't doing what you need to do, go date out. Go get what you can get. But it's not about what you want. It's about what you can get. Go ahead.
Oh, Snuggles, appreciate the $5. Let me say this to everybody for a quick moment. As you notice, I have not been doing a lot of shout outs on the Cash Apps. One, I don't want to stop the flow trying to, shout out the Cash Apps, but I do put it up on the screen so everyone knows that you gave. So please do not, take it personal that I'm not shouting out your name. All Cash Apps is definitely welcome, definitely blessed, definitely would be prayed over. But when he's in the flow, I just want him to flow. I don't want him to stop in mid sentence, for the Cash Apps. But I appreciate all of them.
One thing you can do is start a super chats too for later if it's like a question.
Okay, all right.
Like in the upper right, like on the right of the super chat, it should be a star. If you star it on the upper right, it'll say like starred comments.
Okay, all right. You got one right here for Snuggles. You see that one?
Yeah, I see it. It says, in your estimation, are men afraid to tell women what they actually require from them? For example, men seem to require domestic duties. Why not? Well, I mean, the answer to the first question is yes, most men do. In the space, we're a little bit more boisterous about it. But I also think it's this idea, like, y'all need to start showing me clips of dudes saying certain things, because this and Snuggles is cool, but one of the things that I see on TikTok and I see on social media, but I even see this in real life too, if you get in these conversations, is women have this exaggerated view that men want this exaggerated patriarchy. Most black men are not even asking for submission. Most black men just want cooperation. If black men are not asking black women to follow them off a cliff. And black women ain't never been in a situation where black men have asked that. Now, I know certain brothers that say they want black women to support them and stuff like that. You get that, but that's what that is, support. But this thing about, like, for instance, we have this thing about domestic duties. Most of y'all can't cook. I mean, that's a fact. And I'm not, my mom was able to cook, all that, but black men, if they want to learn how to cook on their own and stuff like that, I mean, dudes are not trying to have this idea that black men want black women to be working a 40-hour job and also do all the domestic duties. I mean, that's bullshit. And I know none of the dudes that y'all are really dealing with is really asking y'all of that. I mean, but no, I'm not, and I mess with Snuggles heavy, but I think, and I know she was saying it in a nice way, but I think that, like, women have these are straw man arguments that I think you all create amongst yourselves. Black men have no problem doing half of the domestic work if you're working. Now, if you ain't working, now a lot of times if a black man is in a position to get black women to not work, then women want a job, and I've seen this where women want a job just so they can have pretend money, even if that money don't even mean nothing compared to what the dude makes. So a lot of it is this idea of control. But yeah, you do have a lot of dudes that they're timid and tepid about being very serious. And to me, it's not so much telling a black woman this is what it's gonna be. It is, but it ain't. It's more saying, look, these are the things that I want, and if you can't get it, let me know so I could go get somewhere else. And I know how to insert that, like, without being talking points. Like, I do it in the form of questions. And these things allow me to gauge, like, where you are on certain things and certain topics. But this thing about domestic work and niggas just want to work and it, like that, you're dealing with modern men. Modern men are not thinking like that. Like, they're not. Dudes that are like 40 and under are not thinking like that. And if they are, it's because they demonstrated the value they give. They can easily get a woman to do that or replace them. But the dudes that are actually campaigning are not asking for all of that. I don't. And so I want a conversation where women I want a conversation or a panel where I actually see dudes actually really saying that, because you notice that people never produce that. And I'm not taking what she's personally saying. I'm just taking,
Right,
I've
right,
heard
right.
women say that. I played a TikTok video of a woman saying, "We know our worth and we're powerful and we're this," as if the women before you weren't. Like, the question I would ask, are the women before, are y'all actually better than the women that came before you? Like the last generation or the one before that? And that's a real honest question, because you let these women you let women say it. It's just certain things where I'm like, where did y'all get that from? Is it from TV? Is it from social media? Is it actually based in real life? I don't know. But anyway, but I hope I answered the question. But I like,
No, you did. Everybody in the chat, let's get these like blasting now, because this is one of the ways that algorithm is going to happen. Like I said, this channel is for total open discussion, intellectual conversation, and getting the vision. If you like these type of conversations, subscribe. Because just saying you like it and you're not subscribed and this channel ain't growing, the algorithm is going to say, nah, y'all don't want that. Y'all want the junk stuff. So if you want this type of content, this is what you're getting straight from the heart. I want to go way back. My boy, we ain't signing. One of the first things when we used to have these discussions, and he popped in, popped out, but I also know, he's doing some big things in other places. He always talked about black men being over policed in every single area, which limits his ability to speak, to move, to act, to think. Can you speak to that as far as black men being over policed? Because I don't think a lot of women really understand, and I don't even think a lot of men, for that matter, realize the over policing.
I mean, sure, Ryan Coogler is a perfect example of that, and that was a black female that felt uncomfortable and unsafe. And to be fair, she called, it was an African, it was a Caribbean, from what I understand, and she called an African American, the chick that picked up the phone, that was a 911 person, was African American, and she asked really good questions. She said, "Does the chick have a gun?" And she said no. So she you could tell her posture kind of changed a little bit, saying, "Do you really want to do this? Because what are you talking about?" So to be fair, but that's a part of being over police. I mean, there's plenty of highlighted examples, but let me give you a statistic. Let me give you
Okay.
a statistic that y'all gonna call me a liar, but go look it up. There's more black men in prison, not jail, but prison, than in the United States of America than there's women in prison on the planet.
Mm.
That tells you everything you need to know. When I first heard that, I didn't believe that. That tells you everything you need to know. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, before she passed away, former Supreme Court Justice passed away, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, said the laws are not designed to control women. The laws are designed to control men, because women can't turn over nothing. Women do what they're allowed to do. From a macro standpoint, a governmental standpoint, but men, you're not going to worry about women really protesting, turning over a government. But the men can, if they have big enough numbers. This is why, you Vietnam War protests, stuff like that. This is one of the reasons why feminism is valuable as crowd control. Women are allowed to be chaotic, or to be insert as a buffer class, and then your men you have to go through your women. Now, men are not going to be as willing to go through women as they would be willing to go through men. And that's not just physically, that's, politically, in any real way. Black men are not really comfortable competing with black women. And we're not even talking about physically. When you look at in the workplace, when you look at mentally, take the physicality of it. Just talk about, like, dudes are taught to let up, don't go as hard that you could go, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
the powers that be take advantage of that. And that's not just true for black, that's more true for black people. That's also true for other groups as well. And the powers that be, the class, they take advantage of that, and they're used as a buffer class. Feminism is a buffer class tactic. It is a soft power tactic. That's how you see it deployed in other parts of the Western world. That's how you see it deployed in other parts of the third world. As a way of on a longer. So anyway, so going back to what your original question was, as far as being over police, I mean, it's obvious that men are over police. Black men are, half of them are let out of prison from false crimes. I mean, and not only black men are over police, black boys are over police. So it starts early. It's obvious. And women, and when you look, if a woman is in jail, a woman really did some shit. Even a black woman. That's not as true for black men. And most black men that are in jail for nonviolent drug possession, which is on some BS, which why a lot of them get let out. Most of your black men are in jail for weed. Weed is about to be legal in a lot of states, and
Right.
it's obvious. It's obvious. So now what people tend to do is they don't like to focus on these things because a lot of people like to be victims in their own story because it allows them to go harder than they otherwise would. So this changes the narrative. So a lot of people go along with it. Make no mistake, a lot of black men. This when I say what I say about the gynocracy is just not to target women. It's to target a mentality that black men have. The vast majority of black men buy into the gynocracy as well.
Hmm. You talked about, because the subject that you're about to bring up is dealing with trust. And I think that you're speaking more to that direct generation of younger millennials and the Gen Zs. Because a lot of us that is older, I'll say some of us is blind and stupid to what's going on because we're beyond a lot of the dating and mating aspect. I got out of conversations dealing with that because I have someone and I'm not really out there like that to really see it, but I'm also here to speak to it when I know about it. Let's
Sure.
go with that trust. Let's go with that trust issue, which was the original conversation.
Well, the difference with the older generations is there were social contracts. There was a social contract. Like, for example, let's look at the stepdaddy game. I call it stepdaddy insurance program.
Mm-hmm.
So after the crack era, and black men never get credit for this, the black men that were in that era, so we can argue what at late boomers or Xers,
No,
you
believe it
know,
or not, that's Generation X. That's smack dead in my generation.
okay, so in
Yeah.
Generation X, they amplified the stepdaddy insurance program, and they took care of a lot of kids of dudes that went off to prison because of the drug thing, women that had kids. And granted, a lot of these dudes benefited because some of them that were productive and stuff, they may have got a more attractive woman than they may have otherwise gotten if she was childless. So there was a reciprocation, a medium exchange, but there was rules. If the dad was around, let's say the woman, it wasn't just a drug dealer thing, it was the dude, it just didn't work out between the man and the woman. You knew, and the father was around, you knew to call your dad, you knew to call your stepdad by his first name. The
Mhm.
dudes knew each other. There were rules, and the women understood that they're winning at the end of the day because they're getting a safety net. So they understood, let men be men. If at the end of the day I'm winning, right?
Right.
Now that wasn't passed down. So it didn't stop because dudes just woke up and said, screw it. They woke up because they saw this, you ain't my daddy. I told women were smart. Women should create an unofficial stepdaddy day. You kind of see them doing that a little bit with Russell Wilson, but they're not going far enough. They
Right.
stopped doing what worked for them, and that just didn't get passed down that baton. And then dudes are like, I'm not doing that because you don't get no respect. You don't get no respect from the kids. It's not your house. Why would I do that? I'm already taking on something I wouldn't take. Um, and so that's a part. But a lot of dudes knew a lot of the stuff as it was happening. For instance, because we always look at this from a position of getting women, and I never talk on that. I
Right.
talk on things like, for instance, when you look at like your generation was the first generation to see a lot of the wood shop, mechanic shop, all that stuff taken out of
Hmm.
schools. And
Right.
people see that as an attack on men. It was, but what it really was too was they took that and they put that in the tech schools. So what was free, you had to pay for when that was free. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? The blue
Right.
collar stuff, you had to now pay for these certifications when you could have got at school. This is where you started transitioning into selling school to everybody because they wanted to make money. This is why you got the student loan debt that, by the way, black women suffer from more than anyone. So a lot of this stuff is scamming, and because women don't figure it out until later on, once their sexual marketplace value isn't the same, but subsidizes a lot of this, they
Hmm.
realize they're holding the bag versus dudes deal with this stuff a lot earlier on. So it's not all just, oh, well, it's because somebody, like most of it is not. Here's my thoughts on getting a woman. At the end of the day, black women have a right to pick what they want to pick for whatever they want to pick it.
Hmm.
Regardless, I am 5'5". I am not a tall dude. And the reality is, if women want tall dudes, that is what that is. It is my burden to be able to have to sift through women to find somebody that, it qualifies for me and I qualify for. As a man, that is something you have to deal with. Rejection is something you have to handle. That is the burden of you. But if you can get around that, then the world is your oyster. because then you can play the numbers in your favor. But where I start getting annoyed is when women start choosing the dudes they choose, and then rather than getting specific on the dudes they picked, they want to create a societal problem. Like for instance, fat phobia, the dudes cheating, all this. These are societal issues that you want to create political solutions to. When in reality, this has to do with you not working out with whoever you pick. Like with Sierra, nobody asked her to pick Future. She chose that. Future didn't lie about how many kids he already had. You can say the same thing about NBA YoungBoy. Now Russell Wilson did what he did. That was his choice, and that was his choice.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you know, Sierra wasn't owed that choice. And the truth is, Sierra understood that, which is why you saw how gung ho she was about pushing a relationship forward and doing what you need to do to secure it. You have a lot
Mhm.
of women that operate on this entitlement, and make no mistake, entitlement is not the same with the women, the men, as it is with the women. But anyway, going back to what you were saying before,
Right.
I understand why these dudes didn't get it, but the biggest issue is a lot of dudes didn't draw the line when it needed to be drawn. And part of it was because there was social contracts in place and they didn't think, nobody predicted the women would just go full stop. Like nobody could predict 20 years ago it would be today, or 30 years ago it would be today. Even though you had things like the Monahan report that definitely showed the deterioration, even though you can show where women were saying stuff then. Nobody, it's like hip hop. People say the same thing about hip hop. They thought
Right.
hip hop was a fad. They didn't think it would get to
Right.
where it is now. So I get that. But where I start jumping on older dudes is when they start get like basically creating cover for women now,
Right.
and not just saying, okay, this is what really happened. Because black people have a tendency to want to cover shit up and sweep it under the carpet. Black men
Mhm.
do it too. And in that way, the next generation got to figure it out again. And then wonder why the community is just continuously sliding. That's where I'd start jumping in. Don't start talking to me about what a man needs to be and all of this as if we do that, then all of a sudden the women are gonna just magically act right. That's bullshit. And we know that's bullshit. They know that's bullshit when they say it. Anyway.
I like that. There's something in this whole language that you said, and then let me see how much time we've been in. All right. There's something you said, and you said it so smoothly that I gotta ask the question. A lot of us in Generation X, and I know my position, but I need to hear yours. A lot of us in
Mhm.
Generation X, the argument has been not only has Generation X failed, a lot of people mix Generation X and baby boomers. So I got to clarify a lot of the timestamps that everybody's given is really Generation X. Generation X failed. We failed the previous generation. We basically just need to step to the side and get out the way and let the Gen Z, the younger Gen Zs and earlier and the wait a minute, early millennials and the Gen Zs fix it. What position do Generation X have? Are we just supposed to be
My
throwing
my
them?
my position is very simple. Every generation's had things they've had to deal with. We deal. Every generation. For people that want to play generational warfare, shut the fuck up. I don't give a fuck about what your daddy didn't do. I had a stepfather. My dad didn't do a lot. Shut the fuck up. Because you're going, because 10 years from now, these Z's that can't fucking read and write, I wish the fuck they would tell me when they skipped out of school why it's my fault they can't fucking read and write. So I'm gonna say that right now. That's a waste of time. That generational warfare shit is a waste of time. Now I will say this. I will say that when dudes try to come in and then say I'm older, and because I'm older, just follow me off the damn cliff. And they don't think they need to provide. It's not even about evidence, but they say, look, this is the information I got. This is the context I can give it to you based on my experience. Whether you agree or not agree, that's fine. But when people start saying, "Well, I'm older, so I outrank you," because the truth is, I'm 35. I've traveled overseas. Like, let's say
Mhm.
you're 35 and you're in the military. That
Right,
person has lived probably more life than somebody that's 50 that never joined. Most
right.
likely. So in the black community, there is physical age, there is emotional age, there is life age. And my channel, this is why I didn't do this on purpose. A lot of my stuff gravitates my age or older. I got more people my age or older than my age or younger. So when people do the generational warfare shit, that's a waste of time. You just take everybody as equal and see if they're coming up with BS. I don't care how old they are.
Right.
It is how old. Now with young people, they may not know, but with older people, it just depends. And it's not about if they agree or don't agree. I try to focus on why are you saying what you're saying, and then make a judgment call on that. But when people try to play that, I don't have an answer, so I'm gonna just put I'm older than you, so go with it.
Right.
I don't play that game. Now you can get away with that a little bit if you want to talk about I got kids, you don't, and certain things, because that's true. Or if I was in the military, you weren't. Yeah, on those topics, yeah, I'll kind of give you that. I'll still have my opinion, but I'll acknowledge that. But if people just be like, I ain't got an answer, so I'm older, and if you were my age, you getting all fuck that. So that's the when I get it. But overall, other than that, that generational bullshit is a waste of time to me. It's just people crying about what somebody didn't do for them. It's like you didn't do what the white men did for the white boys, as if we not black and we don't understand what that is. Yeah, the biggest thing, yeah, I've already acknowledged what the stuff was before, but that's my opinion on that.
Look, I just got to do a commercial break. Miss Mills,
Yeah.
I made sure I clip what Mr. Anderson said. So when we floating around these YouTube streets and we hear that argument, we'll just throw that up in the chat for
Sure. I mean, because a lot of dudes, they want to cuss their daddy out. So a lot of y'all are the next best thing. Now, be clear, I've had my old nigga moments, but that's usually but that's when dudes are usually trying to take what I know is logically sound, and rather than give me new data that I might not have knew or give me a perspective I might not have thought of, they just be like, well, I'm older than you. I'm like, nigga, dude, no, you're not going to do that. And then they try that, you're not going to do that. Or they'll try to do that to try to protect these chicks when they ain't got an answer. And I'm like, you're not going to do that because that's the
Right.
problem. That's when they're not keeping it real by way of I'm older. And no, you're not playing that game. Other than that, the generational warfare stuff is BS. I mean, I get why the feelings people have, but I think it's a waste of time.
Right. Hold on, I'm only putting this up. Okay, he's trying to correct it. Generation X is 50. Their kids are Gen Z is not millennial. Okay, yeah, I heard that. You're right. Thanks for the correction. You're right. You're absolutely right.
But that's why the boomers get brought up. But even still, I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, and millennials have been through some stuff. I mean, but at the same time, like what we're going through right now is akin to what people went through in the 70s. I'm a history person. So that was, I bring context into that. And yeah, so that's as far as that goes.
Okay. Let's go with this trust issue because you talked about the trust issue as a major topic. I think it was trust, right? Wasn't that our agreed topic?
It was.
Okay.
Let me see something real quick.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, because I got notes because I want to really fire this off. So if people want to come up, they can. If that's what you want to do.
Sure, we can do that.
So
go ahead.
So basically, here's a couple of on the lack of trust. Like I said before, there's no social contract, there's no checks and balances, and trust is not a renewable resource. You can't fix what's been going on. Like this idea that you can just have a conversation and resolve decades of BS or people getting over, it's not how that's going to work. And what needs to happen is there needs to be a serious what I expect from women is not to say what I want to hear or say what they don't think. I expect candor. You can say crazy stuff like black men are worshipped, but if that's what you really think, then people are hearing what y'all really think. But this thing where people try to massage it or try to kind of give just enough information to create an outcome, like dudes going along with it, because a lot of dudes want agreement. Where we agree, where we don't, let's talk about it. There's a lack of candor in these conversations. Like I said, it's almost as if women show up waiting for dudes to bend the knee. And the problem is too many dudes have actually set that expectation that will work. And it's not about cussing women out. Because if you bring women onto myself, I don't do that. And I never have. The few times I have drug women is actually Latin women. The few times I've gone like fully automatic with chicks, it's actually been Latin women when they keep saying slick shit about black women in my presence as if I'm just supposed to let you say that, because that's disrespecting me.
Right.
like, for real. But other than that, you ain't really seen me really go off on no sister like on YouTube. Let me see. I mean, one saw there's like a
Okay.
candor. Yeah, so I mean, this stuff we can have a conversation about, like in the context of maybe people coming up asking me questions or
Yeah.
whatever.
Because
But yeah,
let me
that's the
ask
thing.
you
We
this,
need to
because
have
I
a
always
yeah.
say, knowing 20% of the problem, spending 80% time of the solution. So I always say, help me, help you. And then I'm going to drop the chat. Help me, help you. If you had to say for my platform and the position that I hold, what part would you like to see me play in solving anything that you see, or do you feel the platform is working its way into the solution by the way it's designed?
Well, and solution is people being candid on what they think. And then if they're wrong, say if they're wrong, say they're wrong.
Right.
If new data comes in and really, like, I'll give you, like, I hate, people are gonna get mad when I bring this up, but this is a good example. Take
Okay.
somebody like Shay Sade. Shay Sade doesn't necessarily come into it with what black men think. She comes into it what the date now. To she comes into it with basically, I'm gonna figure this out. Like, she does videos talking about, I'm gonna listen to this person for X amount of hours. This is what I think. So she gets it from herself, for
Right.
herself. The thing is, do your own research and
Mhm.
then compare notes, and then we can do the context thing. But when people start doing everything always turns into what can black men do for black women, and and this idea that black men have had these benefits that I don't know what the fuck people are talking about. So as
Right.
long as people are very candid, they're very honest, some people are going to fall on their face, because some of y'all are coming in here with beliefs that, I mean, if you don't know, say you don't know.
Right.
But some of y'all is gonna come with certain beliefs, because and just be candid about it. That's the If people are candid about what they really think, and then they are willing to have an honest conversation, I think we'll go forward. I think that goes to a solution. When people say what the solution is, what I have found, a lot of folks they want a solution. They don't really want a solution. They want, like, the magic trick. So for example, I'm not here to tell black women to change their behavior.
Mhm.
I'm here to tell black men, if black women are not going to do what you need them to do, you need to do what you need to do to create the outcomes you want to create. Part of that is self-improvement to get to those outcomes.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you deserve what you want if you get yourself to the level, get yourself to the level to acquire it. And you need to hold that line. It's not so much about what black men can do, it's often
Mhm.
what black men are willing to do. Oftentimes, black men may have the ability to do something, but because of the stuff in between their ears, they don't want to do it because they see it as harming black women. I'll give you a perfect example.
Okay.
To me, you have sexual access, and you have who you want to have kids with. You could very much say, I want my grandkids to look like me. Obviously, I need to get with somebody that looks like me as a part of that.
Right.
That has nothing to do with who you're having sex with. So if you have
Right.
sex with 100 Latin women, and the last woman you get is a dark-skinned black woman, that's who you have kids with and get married to, well, that's what counts. See,
Right.
black men grew up believing that matters who you had sex with before. That matters, and
Right.
see, and so it's stuff like that that has dudes on some, they gotta be ADOS, they gotta be this. And here's why I say this is not about harming black women, but again, this goes back to checks and balances. If you deal with a cable company, you say, no matter what they do, I ain't never gonna go nowhere else, then you wonder, why am I paying a $500 cell phone cable bill? It's because you've never used the market to benefit you. Now, women don't think that way. They don't
Right.
think that way. And you can see they don't. They do what's in their best interest, even if it's in the detriment of their long-term best interest. And and like I said, so honesty and candor, I think, goes a long way. But as far as solutions, I mean, I like SYSBM is technically a solution if you're willing,
Right.
because SYSBM is not anti-marriage. They're a cultural solution. SYSBM is not anti-dating black women. They are not allowing black culture in its negative form right now to define who you deal with. And so that's really what it is. It's a removal of the gynocentric culture. And a lot of people associate that with being pro-black. So they see, well, by definition, you have to remove black women to do that. But see, you don't, if you don't account for the intercultural dating. Intercultural dating is a solution if you want to keep it black. There are, I'm not saying you can't, I date African American women, but what I'm saying is there are solutions. But what usually people want when they say a solution, I'm not saying you, but in general,
Right, right, right.
how do you change black female behavior? You don't. They're
I
going to
like
do what they're going to do, and then you find the ones that you can work with. I say that 1 in 5 are black women that operate within acceptable levels of common sense. That's what. So 20% is what you're working with. That's what I say.
gotcha. Um,
Eight, and I mean that specifically for ADOS.
yeah, gotcha. What can a black woman do to show that they are genuine? Are you asking me or are you asking Ed? Because I have a quick answer to that one.
I think he's asking me. Quick answer is black men can tell when you're being candid or not. Like, for instance, when you only give me enough information to move the conversation along, but I know you're withholding information because you want me to feed into the conversation versus you adding information to it, that there's tells. And then when we ask you questions, to answer them, even if they're not comfortable. We're not talking about personal questions, but like if I ask you, is the black community a patriarchy, matriarchy, gynocracy, or something I didn't name, answer it. Don't try to talk around it. I mean, answer the question, then give your explanation. With too much talking around, and Karen doesn't do this, but it's way too much talking around shit. It's way too much. We want to create shadows. And then a lot of the guys that don't know what I know, the historical context is all of that stuff, whether it's in this space or because I've always been this way. I was
Mhm.
like, trust me, I didn't need to be red pilled, you know. So this I've all this isn't, oh, I'm red pilled and there's some, I don't have a red pill origin story. I don't. Most of the women, like a lot of women I dated, are married, and
Right,
they are married to black men.
right,
A couple of white women that I dated that dealt with black men are married to lily white dudes, and they
right,
don't know, and they're fine, and they're still married. And they're married to black men, productive men, not 6-figure dudes, but dudes that are on that way because the military, stuff like that. You
right.
know, even if they came from stepfathers, stuff like that, they knew their dads and stuff like that. So I come from a more conservative background of less BS. So I'm one of the worst ones because I can separate black women that ain't got no goddamn sense versus the ones that do. I date assertive black women. I know the
Mhm.
difference between a woman being assertive and a woman not knowing when to shut the fuck up. Because women that are assertive in the right way are more logical. They know when to fall back. They understand these things. Um,
Right,
and understand something too. I'm not saying the inner non-ADOS women are perfect. No, they're not. Um,
right.
so I call it on both sides, regardless of women and all of that. But yeah. So I mean, just we can stop thinking you're smarter than us. Black men can tell when you're being genuine. Not a lot of dudes just go along with it because in their mind that brings them closer to the vag, and that's where dudes start playing themselves, being on social media, trying to. This is why you got a lot of dudes looking at women. Yeah, and look, I'm not hating on the females for benefiting from that, but
Mhm.
if you're sitting there listening to a woman because you need a woman to give you permission to believe something, that's a problem. A woman can be attractive, but if she's talking stupid, she's still talking stupid. But and a lot of dudes will go along with it because man, she attractive, so 1+1 is 5. Carry the one, cause she look good. I'm like, you're an idiot, and that's your fault. That's not the woman's fault. That's you. It's not
Let-
on
let
the.
me- with that being said, so do you? Okay, I'm a throw a softball. Can a woman teach men how to be husbands?
No,
I
not
threw the
really.
softball.
No, not really, because I mean, being a husband is. I won't say being a husband. Look, I'm not a husband. Okay, let me be
Okay,
very
so let
clear.
me ask
But
you.
men,
Let me say it this way: can a woman, an older woman, teach 20, 30 year olds how to be a man and run
no,
a household?
not really, because the reality of the situation is most of these women don't even understand themselves enough to then separate that. Women will say certain things, and when they're in the situation, they feel differently than what they predicted they would. So you get a completely different outcome. So women will tell. This is why when dudes listen to women about anything when it comes to relationships, it ends up not working out. Because women are not speaking from how I feel in this situation, which is really what affects an outcome. They're speaking to what they think should happen. And so this is why when you look at, like, for instance, you ask women, black, white, regardless, what do you look for in a man? And they're gonna give you God fearing, you know, all ambitious, all this other bullshit. Okay, is that reflective of the last three men you fucked? Then they're gonna get quiet. Because that's and I say, you know what? I take personal responsibility. Not
Right.
what do you look for in a man? What do you look for in a nigga you fucking? That may be a more specific question, so I get a specific answer. Maybe how I asked it was wrong, because when you say that, they say this same BS, and I'm like, that's not reflective of the dudes y'all sleeping with, because that's what we care about up front. Y'all talking like, and all races of women do that. That ain't just
Right.
black women. But they come up with this like cookie cutter answer, and for that reason, that's reflective in them teaching shit. These women quit teaching black women how to be women, the femininity coaches. So you think they gonna teach men? Like, no, women, like, women, just like how men can't teach women. Kevin ain't teaching women to be feminine. Kevin's telling black women what men want. There's a difference. There's a difference, and black men understand that. If a black man is raised, I've seen black men that have daughters and they're single dads. They can help you with your hair and shit, but they understand they need a woman to teach you certain things. They can provide structures, logic. Men don't question that, but women do. Women, I don't know where y'all get this gender neutral bullshit from. Like, y'all are complaining about the dudes that's produced. So I mean. But no. So I'm saying that because and my TV is right here. This is why I'm kind of looking like I'm looking off to the side, because my TV is right there. So
Okay.
yeah, FYI, because this is one of the reasons I don't like to cam up. People
I
be like,
understand.
oh, you looking crazy. It's not that I'm afraid to show my face. They said I ain't got to worry about that.
Look, if you didn't cam up, I'd have been sending them to my sister by 2 months.
Well, honestly, shout out to Luke Hazley, because I was looking, and while I was figuring out, is this something you usually do or not?
Right.
I jumped to a video and I saw her. Oh, that's what you like. Okay. So yeah, he does expect. Okay, let me do this, because I don't want to be the odd dude out.
Right. I got you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am about to drop the link. I'm going to tell you something right now. My moderators are the fastest finger popping people. So if you think you're going to do anything foolish coming in here, you will be bounced up out of here. You will be blocked. They know how to hit that trigger.
I got trolls. I got trolls that like the traveling circus, man.
Yeah. So when you come to the back panel, you will uncam up in my backstage. If you don't uncam up, I will make sure that you are up out of here, because I don't have time for people's foolishness at all. So I hope I made that extremely clear. So I'm about to drop the link. Ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to come up and ask questions of my guests.
Yeah, we'll do this for like 45 minutes, a little bit longer. Keep it within the 2 hours.
Yeah, if StreamYard would have been working, we'd have been real good. Yeah,
but that's good as a person, because technical difficulties. You know what to do once you get there. You know to have a backup. I mean, honestly, StreamYard, I don't have a backup. I don't do the eCam and all of that. But
like I said, I was working in the latter hours I was working with before the Billions, but he had a live, and I'm gonna finish up OBS and then try to figure out speak to somebody that got eCam. So I have different ways.
Shannon Ross has eCam.
Yeah. Shannon Ross uses it. El Guapo uses eCam now.
Okay. Yeah, Guapo is really he's probably progressing faster than anybody.
Yeah, he's doing real good. Mm-hmm. He's doing real good. I guess waiting on it. Let me drop it one more time.
No, I mean, it's fine. I mean, the stuff that I say, I don't want to say it's common sense, but like most people have said that I'm fair, and it is what it is. Black men are not asking for that much. They're really not. This idea, I don't know.
So. Yeah. But because I'm not out there in the super dating market, it's not like I'm hanging around, you know what I'm saying, 20 single black men to
Well,
see what they're looking
no,
for.
absolutely. But everything ain't even about the dating. Like when you look at, like, for instance, shout out to Dr. Clark Anderson. When you look at the five floors, economics, politics, legal, communications, and education, to me, the thing below that is culture. And so we don't talk enough about culture in the black community, and these things manifest. So it's not just about how women relate, or men getting women. See, that's the biggest problem I have, is everybody, a lot of people, they try to detract, try to boil it down to that. Like, the lead attorney is a divorce attorney. So he sees what
Right.
happens after you've gotten the chick. So
Right.
this idea that everything is dudes just talk about because they can't get, no, 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 it's deeper than that. Like, I came here, I was in a passport community before I was here, and then a lot of what led me to the manosphere was the pro-black stuff. It was like, yo, we keep saying the same shit, but nothing's changing. And why is that? And then I started to learn we're not united. Why are we not united? Because there's a lot of these things that black people refuse to talk about. Black women think they're benefiting from talking about it, when in the long term they're not. And then black men just go along with it because they looking at every black chick through the eyes of their mama, and they don't want to be the nigga that left or whatever's going on between. I call it ego and guilt with black men.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But anyway.
Okay. Big sis, about 2 months.
Greetings and salutations.
she throwing that. Look. Don't have them texting me tonight talking about who is using my words.
I know that's OG Patrice. She comes in with greetings and salutations. Hey, Edward, you said something that's very telling when you said that you ask women, just hypothetically, you ask a woman what she wants, and she'll, spit out that, God fearing, this, that, and the other. And I kind of laughed to myself because I definitely did in my younger years. But when it came to who I would end up with, was none of that. so,
Yeah.
so it's funny. It's no wonder that my results were where they were, because again, who I have now, my husband now, is all of the things that I said that I wanted. But again, it goes back to, knowing your worth, men and women. So the first time, when you know what your worth is, and you put it out there, what you want, and you're not willing to accept anything less than that, and not make excuses for it. Because I think, had I been honest with myself and said, well, yeah, this may be what I want in my ultimate husband, but this is what I'm gonna do now, I could have lived with my consequences. I lived with them anyway, but at least not deluding myself to thinking I was
Yeah.
really pursuing what I really wanted when my actions didn't reflect that.
The thing, absolutely, and the thing about it is, I call it a storefront answer. So if you're on game, even in a basic way, I mean, dudes quickly recognize the difference, so it's not even that big of a deal. But what I would say to women is that when men believe women, because women believe they own BS a lot of times.
You're
And
right.
so when you believe your own stuff, then it becomes very convincing. And a lot of dudes don't. That's why a lot of dudes would say, oh, they're maliciously lying. To a certain extent, that can be true. But a lot of times they believe their own stuff. Like, and you can tell when we've interacted with like younger women, because they just say this with such conviction. You be like, where did you get this from? And it takes a second to like break that down, even if it's for their own, if it's like for them, because that's what one of the things Kevin does is when he lets you know, look, you're on a clock. Your stock price is as high as it's gonna be. This is not to say you can't do nothing later, but it's like, look, I know women don't like being compared to cars, but it's a good metaphor. You've got off the lot. We know the value cars drop off. Then you got certified pre-owned. Then you got used. Then you got we'll go all the way up to salvage title. And the reality is,
Facts.
well, it's like folks are in their mind thinking I'm always off the lot, or at best, like you got women now thinking they certified free owned when they 40. And my thing is, here's the thing: a woman has every right to pursue whatever she wants. But what dudes are trying to really say is, don't put yourself in a position to where you can't get what you can get because you waited. Now, there's a difference between women that were in marriages, women that were dealing with long-term relationships. A lot of black people cohabitate, even though it's not
Mhm.
officially a marriage. That's a little bit different, but you're going to come at that with a different mentality than women that's been being single all the way up till later. And so a lot of this is us unwounding these things in order to kind of get to that honest conversation, because women are coming at it with, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. Okay, cool. Have you demonstrated you can get that, or is that just a wish? And I be having women ask for stuff they ain't even seen before, like in real life. I'm not even talking about money. It'd be like, y'all, like, you want Yahweh or something. But but if they can get it, yeah, that's what I say.
Real quick, I see Lotus Scalpers wrote that most black women ain't looking to get married until they're 45. And I think, and I can be completely wrong here, but I think the reason why they're not looking to get married till they're 45 because they think when they're ready that a man will be available. And I can say that because I thought that, when I was doing my thing, working in the military, you always think that you have time to find that person, or that person will find you, until you don't. So, or like you said, you can, but you're not certified pre-owned. You're a 10-year-old used vehicle. And it's painful to hear, but when you think about it, it makes absolute sense. And I think, unfortunately, we think we have time. And that's one of the reasons I'm here, to tell women again, pursue or allow yourself to be open to that person while you are in the prime years, particularly if you want to have a family, just as much as you're pursuing that career. Because I will tell you, ladies, if you're listening, of all the accomplishments, quote unquote, that I did, has been nothing that has been more fulfilling to me in my life than the 4 years that I've been with Mr. Randolph. And that's real. And if that, hey, that's it. Go ahead. I'm sorry. That's
And
it.
there's another, and just to speak directly to your question, there's a guy out there that has a thing called the Dream Girl profile, and as a marketer, it's really great because what it does is focuses the guys as to what are you really. It's kind of like a play on marketing where you look at what is your perfect avatar, what is your perfect customer,
Mhm.
because when you're messaging or talking, it allows you to talk and through your communication of your media, social media, whatever copy, like to a specific person to really get the outcome you want to get out of them. The Dream Girl profile is good too because you then start asking yourself, who is this person? Where are they at? Like, where do they hang out? What do they like? It allows you to kind of align yourself as a man with what you may be really looking for. Right. And I think that exercise would be beneficial to women. But, and this is what actually, Kevin does a reverse of that when he's talking about the high. That's what the point of the high value man kind of is to really focus women with what are these guys like, who are they are, because this removes the thing about the dudes that are not where they want at their level, because that's not in
Mhm.
the conversation. This is about you as a woman, and so, and it's not just a perfect guy. It gives them a broader perspective on what these other folks are, because at the end of the day, women lying to dudes is one thing. When women lie to themselves, that's when their own outcomes start to fall off. And like I said, men run marathons, women are taught to run sprints. And to be fair, the media, you're in the United States of America. This is the most strongest propaganda media engine. If you understand what a lot of these young females are listening to in the music, you understand what a lot of these females are seeing on in TV, you understand a lot of these women are seeing on social media. I mean, now TikTok. I mean, honestly, these women don't even have a chance because their five senses are all being constantly given an image of nothing's never your fault. You're a victim that you're fighting back for. And then when you talk to them in the real world, it's they'll tell you straight up where you get that from. Social media. Wow. And they'll tell you honestly. And I'm like, okay, well, I respect you saying that, but yeah. So people underestimate how powerful the American media machine really is. I mean, they really do. And trust me, they're doing that for their benefit. Everything comes back to how to get you to buy the maximum products and services, whether it be makeup, whether it be this. And we understand how much women are control the purse strings, whether it's in a household or individually. This is one of the reasons it benefits keeping women single. Women that are single spend a hell of a lot more than women in relationships. So everything they say is gonna be designed to keep you like that, and they have no problem keeping you single as till you completely lose your value. Because guess what? You're not their problem at that point.
Before I get refused to lose, Edward Anderson, can you make sure that if you can't get it to me now, get that information to me, because I want to read it and be able to utilize that study that you just spoke about. That's very interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, refuse to lose.
Hello, everybody. How are y'all?
You're doing well, doing
Great.
well.
That's good. I wanted to kind of speak on, coming from a little bit from experience. I'm 49 now. I graduated high school pregnant. I got married at 18. We did build a family and things like that. And I realized that I'm not married now, but I want to just say this and from my experience and from what I have had to do within my own self to um kind of admit to myself that I needed to take time to work on me before jumping into something else. A lot of times we find with women that they would jump out into something else when they haven't even healed from the last situation. And that just causes the new situation to go left because you still thinking you can't trust the new person. You still looking, over your head, watching the phones and doing those kind of things. Instead of working in what did you do wrong? How did you fall short? Did you fall short? And how could you fix the things that you feel maybe have been a part of destroying the relationship? We have to come into tune with our role that we played, when things happen.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm quite sure my big sister will speak to it. As far as this platform, because I deal mostly with men, one of the biggest issues that I hear so much is self awareness,
Mm-hmm.
and I find mainly for women that they find other women that doesn't allow them to be held accountable. And you hear this a lot in men's spaces. Why? Because a lot of times they're given the excuse, it's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's the man. If the man did this, the man did that, the man did this, and it allows you that pass. I find it especially in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And I can definitely speak to that area. First thing the church tell you, well, what happened? Then you tell them story. And as soon as you say what a man has done, oh, it's his fault. You all right. You the queen. You the diva. You the this. Have a seat. And by the way, give me the tithes and the offering. They allow you to be straight messed up. And that's why you don't see men in the church.
Well,
And these are issues that I see. As far as this platform, I am going to do some female content,
mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to lie, and I speak with boldness. I got to get my brothers right.
Right,
And
right.
that's going to be one of the areas where we as men got to have some self-awareness. Edward Anderson has extreme self-awareness of who he is, where he been, etc. That's why he can boldly speak the way he speaks, because he has self-awareness. I do find that there's a level of men that are not self-aware, and that's why they're kind of doing what they're doing.
Right.
In certain ways. Because yes, there's a certain area where I'm gonna hold women accountable 100%. But at the same time, you got to find those women that's going to hold you accountable.
Absolutely.
So it's my big sister is out there. It is my little niece is out there. They got platforms. So I would say, if you want to know if you got that pure inner healing, go to a woman that's really been healed, because we always say single women keep women single.
Right.
Go find those married women
Mm-hmm.
and really make sure they married, because I found some women out here that claiming it and ain't really there.
Oh yeah.
But find some married woman that don't mind getting rough, rugged, raw, and real, and tell you about their past life and how they had to go through in
Hey,
order.
bro, real quick, also too, and it's just not us old heads, seriously, because my daughter, who's 27, she has said, she's been married for about 4 years, has tried to help her friends who say they want to be married, who say that, and she tries to give sage counsel, but again, because and I'm putting myself in there, we believe our own delusions, we think, when my daughter tries to talk to her friends, they say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, or just basically are dismissive. But yet and still, my daughter is the one that's married.
Right. I've been there.
Yep. I will say dudes need to stop trying to act like they can alpha their way through it and fixing women. It's not our job to fix women. And there's something about dudes. I don't know if it comes from them trying to fix their mama or whatever, where dudes think it's their burden to try to fix women. It's your burden to vet women. I'm not saying if a chick's got to be perfect, but what I'm saying is dudes. It's so crazy now. A chick will swing on a dude and he think that's funny. And I'm like, I get it. You 6 foot, big man, but trust me, if she want to hurt you, she gonna find a way to hurt you. Even if I've got dudes that are like 20, 22 years old talking about a woman took a 2x4 to him in his sleep, and he talking like that shit's normal. And I'm like, I was like, nigga, I'm 5'5", and these chicks ain't never swung on me. And I know a lot of them might think they could take me. So I don't know what y'all giving off to where y'all think these women can. I mean, how you 6'2", and these dudes, I know they're that tall. And these sixes, and the motherfuckers be like 5'4", 5'3". They'd be like, what are you? But my point is, dudes think it's their burden to like absorb that, and it's their burden, and that's something that's on them for believing. It's like, yo, whenever I hear dude. I know you ain't talking about crazy women. You talking about women need to heal. But whenever I hear dudes say, yeah, man, she crazy, but the sex is wild. I'm like, yo, anything she do after that is your fault. Because now you understand the situation you're in and you're choosing to deal with it for whatever reason. So I don't want to hear it. And I've said this, and it's the same thing on women that haven't healed. You got dudes that they will be in relationships, like situationships, especially with the way the economy is now. You're going to see a lot of cohabitating going on, a lot of extended cuffing seasons going on, because this inflation ain't no joke. This rent ain't no joke, because you got a lot of these landlords talk about, y'all had a year off. I don't care. I'm getting all of that money back. And so people are going to be putting themselves in situations where they're together, where they might not like it, dealing with each other, and dudes be dealing with crazy stuff. And the reality is, as a man, you have to be on guard, because if a woman is lashing out at you because of pain they suffered, or they got like, I don't want to disrespect like the military. Let's just call it like relationship PTSD, even though it's not that, but you get what I'm saying. You have like where you're like got echoes of stuff going on in the other relationship, ain't got nothing to do with the dude. The dude thinks, he can fix that, or you can just sex a woman out of that, rather than just letting that woman go. And then if y'all find y'all way back to each other, y'all do. And this is not me I'm not trying to hold dudes accountable because it's easy. What I'm saying is, as a man, your fear in letting women go, because black men have a problem letting women go. Like, it's like the woman has to bounce out. This is why when Kevin and all them ask, like, how many relationships have these women left, or left, it's never they got let go, because dudes are absorbing all of this stuff, and that's a sign of them not setting standards, or them believing their manhood is in how much you can take. No, especially when you're dating and stuff, it's like, look, if she's on that, let her be on that over there. It's always another chick. But them dudes just be like, no, man, I can save her. You just got to be a man, and she'll just magically fall in. These women are people too, and it ain't how that sounds. No, you just don't understand because you ain't that nigga, yo. All right, man.
Let me say this. Now, if anybody came to my live just yesterday, the reason that some of these men do that is because I'm about to put a stamp in it. A lot of women, a lot of you brothers, you can stay off cam if you want to. A lot of men have feminine energy, and feminine energy will allow you to operate in a feminine fashion. A masculine man understands the meaning of no. He understands if a woman says no, he says okay, and he can walk away. Feminine men, they can't do that. And I'm saying to every man, I'm talking to the men right now. A lot of y'all, you need to understand who you are as a man. You need to already have yourself in order. And if you're going to choose a woman because you're in order, she will be in order. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, a lot of you brothers don't leave because you really ain't got it. Now, if Brown Eyes is in the chat.
Ooh, that's good. Ooh, I'm sorry.
Brown Eyes is in the chat. Now, my big sister might hit me, but she know I'm doing this as an example. If Brown Eyes walked out right now, I might hurt emotionally, but I ain't going to be broke. I ain't going to be homeless because I know who I am.
Right.
But a lot of you brothers, you can't do that because what has happened is, I'm going to throw a little Bible, but then I'm going to bring it back home. The Bible says, as a man leaves a mother and father and cleaves to a woman, then they become one. A lot of you brothers still ain't left your mother and father mentally, physically, spiritually, socially, and economically. So what you're really doing is going from your mother to your mother that you're now wanting to have sex with.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And now you still staying with your mama because the reality is some of y'all capping about the money you making and what you doing and how you moving. Because a man that got at least enough money to have a room, he'll bounce immediately from the craziness, and he'll get a room and be totally at peace. So all y'all brothers running around and talking about, I got 6 figures. You got 6 figures, but you complaining about spending $25 at a restaurant. You ain't got 6 figures, brother. We got a national economic crisis on our hands, and now it's time to put up or shut up. And I will say to you, if you're in a position where you ain't where you supposed to be, Uncle Stu got you. I got enough brothers that is connected to this platform right here that will teach you how to have basic finance, get your money in order, get your mind in order, get yourself in order, so that when it's time for you to cohabitate or even get married, you're ready. Don't cry about a prenup to me. Prenups ain't for brothers flipping burgers at McDonald's. Prenups ain't for brothers that's really in the lower middle class. And the question is, do you even know if you're in the lower class, the middle class, upper class? Do you even know what that means? If you don't, it's all right. I'll be glad to teach you. We need to stop saying, well, the women. One of my mentors, and trust and believe, he know what he's talking about. One of my mentors says, or he puts it this way: whether you got a woman or not, you still got to know how to eat. Whether you got a woman or not, you still got to know how to have a place to stay. Whether you got a woman or not, you still need to be maintaining a source of income and a place to stay. We got to start really manning up and stop blaming the women. Now, do I understand that there's a level of black men that has done very well for themselves? Yes, they have. And you know what? They're not online complaining. I do understand that there is a sector of my brothers who are doing economically well, socially well, etc. And guess what? They do come to me and they say, look, Uncle Stu, we out here with these type of women. And I say, bro, I get it. I see it. Look, I got glasses. I can see. I can take the glasses off and see. Trust me. I'm online and I see it. But I also see the brothers that don't want to do right. They want to complain. But I'm not here to bash you. I'm not here to beat you up. I'm here to say, yo, if you are in that position, come on over here. Let's get it right. Because let me tell you something. Uncle Stu didn't have it all the time. Hell, I know what it's like to be homeless. I slept in a car. I know what it's like to sleep in a rooming house. I've been there. But I didn't stay there.
Hallelujah. There you go. Brother. Brother. What's his name? Goodness heaven. What is Lone Scalper or something like that? He said that the problem is not the men. Let me go ahead and grow y'all to this real quick. Let me go ahead and grow you for a minute. There are raggedy ass women, period, And there are raggedy ass men. Period.
Absolutely.
Period. Deal with it. We got raggedy representatives. Period. I personally am tired of hearing the blame. It's raggedy. How about that? It's raggedy. Question: what you gonna do? Ed just said it. Women, I was one of them, believing my own delusion, believing that I was fine and I was gonna always have the pick of the litter until I wasn't. So, but praise God that I had the opportunity to get my mind right and heal.
Yes, yes.
And here's another thing: it is not. We cannot fix each other. If a man comes in contact with a woman that needs to be fixed, she ain't it. If vice versa, if a woman thinks she's gonna fix a man, she ain't.
Learned
Say,
that
it's
though.
nice to know you. I need to move around.
Mhm.
That's all I got for now.
Yeah, here's what I'll say. At the end of the day, black men have no friends. And so a lot of times what what I tell dude, and I make it very clear, because one of the things as far as what Lotus is talking about too is there's a difference between dudes that want women to be blamed for everything, and then a lot of dudes that have a very, very strong backlash to like this idea of wanting to silence black men. So like, for example, let's say something that hasn't been said yet, like this incel thing. A lot of people like to paint the picture if you're complaining hard enough, you're automatically an incel. And this is why one of the reasons, and see, to me, I look at it like a communications problem, which is why, it's good that you got dudes, Stu, Dennis Sperling, where Dennis Sperling has definitely had his experiences with women, in different, the lead attorney being a divorce attorney, because I used to watch the Divorce Corp documentary, great documentary. And so you have folks that you can see that these dudes are not necessarily representative of this idea of everybody is in that boat, but they may go about saying it in a different way. But like when a woman's saying crazy stuff, I mean, they call it for what it is. And so it's kind of, because a lot of people will, because you have what I call the mainstream, what they want to do for economic reasons, and then and it's easy when you look at the mainstream to say any dude, because you notice that like in mainstream, women can say a lot of stuff and it's never flipped back on them. Like for instance, I'm not even going to get into the to me the BBL thing, because I've heard women, like before they ever got that, I'm talking about in real life, in the job I have, talk about that's what they want to get when they grow up and all, and just have delusions about that, like what was gonna come when they got that. This was like 10, 12 years ago. So that's been like that for a minute, where women are really thinking about that. And so at the end of the day, if people are looking for a solution, the solution is increasing what you can do, and then being willing and definitely being hardened to do what you want to do. So for example, what I hear what you're saying, Stu, is basically you need to put yourself in a position where you can win. Is it easy? No. Is it hard? Is it hard? Yes. But at the same time, now as far as the advocacy, because some people call it complaining, I call it advocating, because I keep
Mhm.
it 100. But at the same time, as an individual, if you want to put yourself in a position to win, you're gonna have to do that. Now people will say, well, what does that look like? Does that look like, do I gotta make six figures? I do not necessarily. No, you don't. Like
Right.
the reality of the situation, and see, that's where people are. When they hear what folks are saying, it's like they're hearing, like when they hear what you saw, they hear you need to be rich to earn that woman's respect. No,
No.
but that's what they hear, because traditionally, a lot of dudes, you got to remember too, you have dudes that have come through here before that y'all don't even know nothing about. Like people think Derek Jackson was always Derek Jackson. No, you had people that competed to have a position Derek Jackson ended up having. One of them is a guy by the name of Angel Ramirez Jordan. And he's still around, but he ain't Derrick Jackson. But the thing about it is you had a lot of dudes that they made money off of basically checking dudes, but not really giving them anything. Like they wouldn't say, okay, this is how I did it, or this is what I did, or here's some information. You know what I'm saying? What they would do is saying, well, if you just get your shit together, then magically the women are just gonna do, like, it ain't about that, and it's really about you. Even though it's part of it's about that. Now I will say this to feed into what you're talking about. There are some dudes here. This is what I say too. I'll say this first. The quick way that I tell dudes what you said is this: if you have a problem dating black women, date out. Now, if you're getting the same outcomes with dating out, okay, now we don't have to worry. We know the problem's you. Because now you've dated a Latin woman, white woman, and you're getting the same results. So clearly we know, because I understand sometimes it's a culture thing with sisters. But then if it becomes it's other way, now we start playing, well, American women are bad. Well, I mean, then you got to understand, unless it's gonna cost money. I'm all for traveling. Now I'm not an expatriation person. I'm just I prefer to be here, but I also want to have networks and pockets and understand the travel community you have a lot of black couple travel communities, by the way. So the travel community is bigger than just passport bros. Like Travel Noir has more black women in it than black men. Black Travel Feed features more black, and I'm not talking about necessarily swirling. We're talking about black people with black people.
Right.
You know, so people only see like the passport bro side. But my point is, the simple answer for that is, if you need to figure out, is it black women or is it you? Now, to be fair, there's actually different types of black women. You got the Southern Belle, the Valley Girl, the Savage. But we're not gonna get into that today. Well, we're gonna if it's black women, you date out. If you're having the same problems, it's you. Well, if you say, well, I don't really want to date out, black women is all I want. Well, then it's what Stu said. You're gonna have to meet them the way they want to be met, because you've decided that's what you want. If you say you don't want to interculturally date, you don't want to interracially date, and Kevin had a lot of dudes said they don't want to do that, then you're gonna have to meet them where they want to be met. And that's what it is, because you've decided that's what it is. But that's how I answer that question. Date out, and if you're having the same response, then it's you. If you're not having the same response, you got to make a judgment call on, is that what you really want? You know, and if it's not, another thing too, dudes need to not be afraid to take a break from dating. A lot, especially when you're younger, and I know it's hard because the testosterone is going stronger. You know, people talk about MGTOW, like, oh, you're MGTOW, that's a gateway to homosexuality. No. If you say I'm chilling for like a year, maybe two, and I'm not spending my income on trying to date women or doing this, doing that, and I'm focused on getting myself where I need to be as far as quality of life. What is quality of life? Health. People call it body game, money, you know, time freedom, which money and time is wealth, and your relationships, which you could say is your network, and then come back and then you're showing up in the dating market with a lot more. I know who I am, so
Right.
I know I deserve what I want, and I'm gonna go for it. And you show up in a different way. And so that's how I would address that, because the back and forth thing, at the end of the day, I'm an outcomes person. If black women don't like their outcomes, I'm like, you are empowered in this society to create the outcomes that you want. So it ain't like a dude is choosing a man for you and you don't like that. You picking it. So that's on you. But it's the same thing with dudes too. What dudes have to understand is, black men, you have no friends. You have to put yourself in position to win. If you want the outcomes you want, that is what it is. It's not fair that if you didn't get stuff passed down to you, it's not fair. It is what it is, yo. I mean, and because no matter how much you talk about, because this is what I said about blaming older black men. You know, you saw I was very forceful about that. At the end of the day, it's about what you want. Now, as far as me, and I'm done after this, as far as me advocating what the overall climate is, because a lot of the climate black men have to deal with is based like TJ. I got women arguing with me talking about there's such a thing as black male worship. Now, I know you may have been on what you on, but I know black women weren't talking about that back in the day, of a concept that black women are just worshiping black men, or that America just worships black men.
No.
That's
No.
some like women are saying some crazy. I'm talking about, they believe this. Not all of them. This is a minority. Or they're calling mammies black women that actually advocate for black men, when we know what the definition of mammy is. So the point is, that has nothing to do with black men. But at the end of the day, what Stu is trying to say is he's really punching you in the chest. And that's why I call him Uncle Stu. And y'all just have to understand that and then take that for what it is. Niggas be like, everything ain't gonna be that black bitch ain't shit 24/7. Hell, my channel ain't that. My channel ain't that. You know.
And you know what? I tell you, I'm not oblivious to the climate, and I don't know if I said it on your show, bro,
Yes.
or mine, but it saddens me because I have biological nephews. You know, I don't have any sons, but I have biological nephews, and I have heard them, going back to even when they were in high school, because many of them didn't date black girls. And you know, as a black auntie, I said, "Well, why not?" And he said, they're not nice to me. They're mean to me. Several of my nephews would say that. And I'm talking about in different parts of the country. So
damn.
yeah, you know, some of them were in California, some over in Virginia, some in Oklahoma. So I am not oblivious to what is out there. But what I am saying is not everybody. And I think the problem is I get frustrated when, just like women use the wide brush to paint men, I get frustrated when men do the same thing. I don't deny that the problem exists, because again, I want my nephews to meet good young ladies to build families with. But I don't want them to become so tainted by the experiences, just like my daughter. I didn't want her to become so jaded that she just said, "Excuse me, chat, fuck it." That's what I don't, that's what I get concerned about.
Right.
So again, I'm not denying that what we're having is real. I know that. But I just don't want to say, just fuck it. I'm just not even going to try, but there are women out there who want good men, just like men who want good women.
Yeah.
And Edward, the first of all, let me give a big shout out all the way from California. Shannon Ross is in the house with the $49.99 super chat. Thank you, sir. Trying to put in the work over here. And then we got F Holiday, $10. Y'all done messed around, created a new podcast. let me, Ed said it right. I need you gentlemen to know that I'm not telling you, go get it together. And now I'm about to move on to another topic. I'm telling you right now, I'm here to help you. I needed help. Bruh, I'm 54. I needed help at the age of 50 to get it together. Now, I got it together. And now let me help you get it together. This ain't about six figures. This ain't about pumping and dumping. This is all about saying, okay, where you at? Oh, okay. Where you want to go? All right, let me get you the steps. I already have men in place, and let me help some people. I know that this whole thing about you got to pay for this and pay for that and pay for this. There's certain times where you do have to come out of pocket. But do you believe that I actually put together a bunch of men who got platforms, who got the tools, who got the education, that's going to give you the game for free? That's going to give it to you for free.
Yeah.
So I get it. But I've heard, Ed, I'm always in your chat. I'm up there with Edward. I'm listening, but I'm saying, hey, man, can some of y'all really live alone? We ain't signing. I'm surprised he's not in the chat again. He's probably in and out, but we ain't signing to have this conversation. I can observe and know whether a man is at a particular situation and where he's at economically just based on his argument. You can give me this argument about the women all day long, but then if you come back at me and say, well, I ain't gonna pay for her meal, I ain't paying $25, then you ain't got no money. Why do I say that? Because, bro, I don't want to take brown eyes off the table. I'm telling you as a man, I don't want to lay with no dumb woman that I can't have a conversation with. That's just me. That's me. I ain't gonna put that on y'all.
No, absolutely, but it's just like what TJ said. And see, I have the opposite situation. Like my younger brothers, my middle brother is 30, and we're all 5 years apart. My youngest brother is 25, and they started dating both, but now they more date black women because they had issues with white women. So they're actually, and they don't deal with none of the red pill stuff I deal with. They're just straight on the ground like that. The one thing is we tend to have a thing saying this is on YouTube, but a lot of what these, especially younger dudes, are seeing, they're not like, you can look at our numbers and know like our numbers are nothing compared to like what the women's are. So
Right.
like on the other side, so it ain't a whole bunch of dudes really on here like that. So when they're saying that like what TJ says, that's reflective of what they see. And that's what Kevin
Gotcha.
was trying to say. So when
Right.
people sit here and so when people say like, look, there is a part of dudes always need to progress, but what people tend to do is make that like, well, women are just doing this because of these guys, but dudes know well who the women pick. It's not like they pick dudes that are together. Now if you're dealing with college women on the frat stuff, that's like a different tier. So that's a little bit different. But if we're talking about women that are not in college, because every chick ain't in college. Only like what 10-15% of women are in college. You know, um, what you're seeing is like the folks that people are having kids with. Like when people say you need to get your stuff together, and we're not even talking about hood rat chicks. We're talking about women that would qualify as normal. And I don't mean to bring up names, but I'm gonna bring it up. What a lot of people don't understand, like about Crystal and Carrington, and I'm talking about what was out of her mouth
Right.
before she went with Swirl World and all of that, and she dealt with the dude that she was dealing with. It was like an upstanding dude that she want to have a kid with. He want to have a kid with her, and then that happened. She said it out of her mouth. Because she's in the California area. She's in the LA area. She was in the LA area. She was dealing with dudes that were on the hood side. And what got her away from, she was one of these ones where she wanted to play with that until something like really serious that shocked her out of that
Right.
and pushed her away from wanting to deal. Not something that really happened to her or something, but let's just say like something where it was too close to home kind of thing. Like maybe a shot or something, shot or something like that. Okay, this ain't what I want. And then she kind of gravitated back to maybe what she wanted to deal with, right? And so the thing, I say that to say this: what you have is every chick you have, like class is not really taught. Class is talked about in New York, but in Black community overall, class is not something that's talked about as much as it should either. And dudes will tell you they got access to lawyer dudes that are not on the. Because when I say Pookie and Ray Ray, I mean a non-productive Black man. Like you can be a street dude and
Right.
still be a productive Black man. So that's a
Correct.
specific thing. And I know there's non-productive Black men that got access to females that are like lawyers, are high level, like six figure, like on a sexual basis. And I'm talking about people that have kids with this. I'm not making a complaint, but what I'm saying is when then the argument becomes you need to be a high value man, it's like dudes clearly see that's not reflective of who y'all are actually sleeping with. And that's where a lot of that complaint comes from. So it's not so much dudes saying I don't want to progress. It's more dudes saying, this is what dudes are really saying.
Okay.
I don't want to hear shit when I progress, and then that ain't who I pick. I don't want to hear that I'm a coon. I don't want to hear I didn't give Black women a first right of refusal. I'm talking about once they get there. I'm not talking about Black women got to be with a dude that's broke in order to earn the right to be with a dude that's paid. Not saying that. But what I am saying, because I don't believe that either, but what I am saying is at the end of the day, a lot of these dudes want Black women. And it's like when I get to the level, it's not going to be Black women are going to get graded on this curve because that's what you need to do for your community. Because a lot of times these dudes, they got rejected when they were on their come up.
Mm-hmm.
When they get there, it's kind of like these other women are offering a lot of stuff on top of dudes may feel a little bit some type of way. Now, is that always the case? No. But a lot of times Black men get attacked and lambasted as if you always hate Black. Like what the story TJ was saying, if for nothing else, if those guys end up dating other women, and then it'd be like, well, you always hated Black women, That they were mean. That don't mean nothing. You hate your mama, you hate Black women, and and that's what a lot of dudes are lashing out against. Because when women do that and tell that story, the same sisters ain't got nothing to say. And quite frankly, black men may roll their eyes a little bit, because I'm gonna tell you right now, when I'm doing my drive, people call it driver's ed, which is crazy.
Right.
But when I'm doing it, every time I drive, I see like 2-3 couples of black women with white dudes, and these don't even be bottom shelf Brad dudes, you
Right.
know. So, but when it's a black man with a white, oh, it's like, oh crap, and
Yeah.
that's what dudes are really lashing out against.
Okay. Yes. Well, what you just showed me, I'm definitely for within this week. I will do I'm probably not going to do it as a live stream. I'll just probably drop it as a video where I'm going to educate on that class system in America. My numbers may be, as they say, skewed, but it's only going to be skewed because I'm using national average versus what's going on directly in your city or town. I'm also going to say that I need the men to also understand. Do I know that there are situations where you ain't got to pay for it? Absolutely. Absolutely. I've told this to Brown Eyes. I've told this on other panels, and I've said it here. When I was out there, all I needed was a place to stay, a car, and a source of income, and I ain't never had to pay for dinner. I got it. See, and I'm glad that you clarified a lot of stuff because, like I said, if you already where you supposed to be, fine. I ain't got no problems. But if you the brother that isn't where you supposed to be, I'm not going to tell you pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I'm gonna actually try to help you to get the boot, the straps, and a place to go, and put those things in position.
If you don't got your basics together, like I don't even like once if I detect, and that's one thing in our space, if we detect that dudes ain't got their stuff together, they're not gonna be given a platform to just. I think a lot of times the people that's in the space get undermined a little bit because trust me. But go ahead, I'll finish what I'm saying. That's what you say, TJ. I know you want to get in.
Real quick though, to that, I said that I want to address, Mo returns. And listen, like I said, I know, I'm Uncle Stu's big sister by 2 months, so I'm 54 also. I get it, and what I deal with, at 54 is different than what many of you have to deal with. And like Uncle Stu said, I was still getting my mind right at 50. So it lets you know that it wasn't too long ago. But here's the thing, man. If you are dating a woman, well, you have to ask yourself, if you're going to meet a woman, what are your standards? And what I mean by that, if this woman is only concerned about you taking her to some fancy ass restaurant out the gate, and she's concerned with superficial, then you need to walk in the opposite direction. But it don't mean that there aren't good
Yeah,
women
that's
out
that
there.
saying no. Yeah.
I mean, just because again, I use my daughter as an example because I know I'm out of y'all's age group, but my daughter wasn't. She recognized a good dude who would soon be her husband. And their first date was taking her to get chicken fried steak. So again, she wasn't concerned about the superficial bullshit. And if you meet a woman that's about that, whether young or old, then you need to move around because even Mr. Randolph said before he dated me, there were many women who wanted to forego the niceties and get straight to knocking boots. And when he met me, I made it clear that I had standards. And the standard was no, you didn't have to buy me a whole bunch, take me out. But again, you wasn't just going to go to sleep with me out the gate. That wasn't cracking. But I invested in him also. I let him know that I was interested in him and not just for what he could do for me. So if a woman is, showing you at the rip, exit stage left.
It's called qualifying in sales. You don't shop everything to everybody, and it's not about qualifying as like I'm better than you as a salesperson. It's about saying is there a need, like you qualify people to say is there a real need that you can feel or what that your service feels. So in the dating world, and I'm not really here to give dating advice, but in the dating world, you all got to show up with a posture. Like we know, like when a woman wants to, we call Obsidian calls it dinner whoring. When and yeah, they did studies like you got like 40% of women have done it. Like so, it's something they're actively doing. And getting free meals. Some of these chicks are broke. That's why they pull that crap. But the thing about it is, if you show up saying, look, I know what to look for, I know what I want, and I know what I don't, And here's the thing: I'm not here to tell black men to just date who you want to date, you know, because a lot of people will argue that's an American problem as well. Like I always say, don't go red pill for black women and only remain blue pill for non-black women, because that's what a lot of dudes tend to do. They tend, and black people tend to do, they tend to let their guard down because they're reflecting what they don't want against what they do want, and they're put in a racial context. And I'm saying that, I'm not saying that to big up black women. I'm just saying that for your own good, because I can show you like dudes like Tim Duncan, Tiger. You can show a lot of examples of that where they let their guard down. But the point is, if you show up from a position, think of what I said about that dream girl profile. Is your dream girl gonna show up trying to play the finesse game? And even if they're, because a lot of women are smarter about it than to do it as obvious as like that. The ones you really need to worry about is the women that understand relationships and how it's better for them to show up a certain type of way and then long term get you. So you never really take, and this is why I bring up trust, because men can't really love women if men don't trust them. I'm talking about individually. To me, you can't love a woman you don't trust. So when you choose to
Absolutely right.
love a woman, you actually choose to. This is why dudes get so angry. This is why dudes view betrayal a little bit more. They get angrier about it than women do, because men don't deal with emotions in the same way that women do. So a lot of what you're seeing in the chat is really this: women have demonstrated openly, because that's another thing, TJ. The biggest thing I want you to understand about women your age, and when I say that, I'm talking about like if you fast forward the clock back to when you were maybe in your 30s or 20s, is women understood that you got to put stuff in the engine to get stuff out. The machine. Women, these are women that if they were trying to play games, they'd be like, girl, make him feel like a man and he'll do whatever he want to do with you. A lot of dudes wish women were thinking that way.
Facts.
And the women here are pretty much the women today are pretty
Right.
much on the city girls, because remember the music in the 90s was the girl next door type of stuff. Like women like Monica were pushed into that. And so millennials like my age, that's what we grew up with. You got younger dudes growing up with like Nicki Minaj, where they don't understand, girl, less is more. Like, wear a dress that's skin tight, and then their imagination will run wild. No, these chicks like show up like a stripper, and then tell them they wrong for cheapening you for it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So the thing about it is, a lot of these dudes are. I'm not saying it should be justified, but what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, I get where they're coming from, but their solution is, again, I told you, 1 in 5 operate like they got some sense. Another thing too is we need to do more breaking down different types of women. What I would want to see, as far as in the females talking, as far as the ones that are more in the middle, I want to hear about the finesser. I want to hear about like the valley, like for instance, different types of black women. They got the valley girl, which these are like women are in California and stuff. You got the Southern Belle type. These are be a little bit more conservative, stuff like that. You got the savage. This is like a Cardi B type. Women that they're very honest about who they are. Like, this is a roller coaster. If you get on the roller coaster, I'm talking emotionally and all of that. I'm telling you right now, I'm crazy. If you choose to deal with me, crazy stuff is what you're going to get. But and guess what? There's dudes that will get on that ride and complain about it. I don't want to hear none of their complaints, because
Yeah, because they think they can tame the ride,
or
like tame the Bronco. I'm just saying.
no, that's part of it, but another part of it, that is part of it. But another part of it too is a lot of dudes, they like that hate fucking. They like it. And they don't want to be honest about it. Those are typically not necessarily dudes complaining, but again, we get it, but at the end of the day, man, if a woman is, you need to be able to qualify these women. And if you're, but see, here's the problem. A lot of them, they want you to change their behavior, and that's when I tell these dudes, yo, I don't say what I say to change women's behavior. You need to either find the women I'm talking about in black women. I said it's 1 in 5 that act like they got some sense, and a lot of them are married. So you need to find the ones. If you need to change cities, change them. You need to look for where women has got some sense. Where do they act? Where are they at? All this stuff. And then if not, you need to be open to dating interculturally. And then whatever. And then if you don't want to do none of that, then like I said, you got to meet black women where they want to be met. That's really all I can say. And that's where this friction of, but what they do. None of us is going to change how women are operating. Yeah, we can give them greater understanding as far as saying, look, this ain't no this ain't no gold at the end of this rainbow. Like, you're not gonna be like a running back in football, like Tom Brady's age, thinking you're gonna get paid the same. But they either believe that or they don't. And if they don't, then you need to move on. This is why y'all need to be willing to say no and bounce. But a lot of dudes don't want to do that. That's my problem.
Let me ask you this question, because Ed, you know, and I'll let everybody in the chat know, I'm married, so I don't deal in a whole lot of the dating sector. I'm that dude that says, if you if you want to be married, or heck, if you want to properly cohabitate, which would go against my religion, you know, if that's what you want, then you still need a place that's going to help you to get there. And I think a lot of times, at least what I've seen in a lot of spaces, is you got married men telling these brothers, giving them all kinds of game on how to pump and dump and all this stuff. But I did a poll on my own platform. First, I did it with just everybody that is subscribed to me. 80%, 88% of the people on my platform wants to be married. Then I separated the poll between men and women, and I still had high numbers. Men who want to be married, women who want to be married. So I figured somewhere along the line, there got to be that conversation of, okay, if y'all want to be married, then let's get you ready to be married. Because if Brown Eyes would have seen me 3-4 years ago, it would have been one of them pumping and dumping, because my mind wasn't ready. I wasn't ready mentally, wasn't ready spiritually, wasn't ready, definitely not economically. You feel me? And so I had to work on some stuff.
Well, I think a lot. So there's a couple of things, and I want to be real clear about this. Dudes, and like one of the things in the Black manosphere in particular is we have this kind of battle rapping stuff where dudes are always trying to one up other dudes. So if dudes are getting caught slipping as far as how they living and stuff like that, and that gets found out, they're gonna get clowned. So if you don't have, Love Dorsey calls it basics. Like, you have your own apartment, your own car, you know, job, you know, you're employed, you call it gainful employment. If it's known that you sitting here hollering like in the chat or wherever, because and then you ain't got yourself together, you know, that doesn't even qualify to even say anything. So that's why a lot of people like to make that argument and paint the space as that's what's going on in order to try to shut down the conversation. Because I can tell you, I got dudes that are married. They've been married for 30 years and they got 4 daughters saying some of the same stuff I'm saying. Like, as far as, and they actually think I'm loose with it. So now, as far as what you were talking about, like getting your mind right, the thing about it is a lot of these guys, they're being bombarded with a certain type of female. And so the biggest thing I would say is, if you want, folks need to start showing. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I'm saying, dude, people need to, in the greater community, hell, Kevin, the lead attorney, whoever, because think about it. When Kevin came on, this is Kevin Samuels.
Right.
But Manosphere did not have this. We did not know this before Kevin. So Kevin brought this. We did not know Black women were getting all these proposals and saying, now, unless they're lying about it,
right,
we didn't know that they were. You got video after video after video after video. Kevin, women talk, oh, I got proposed 3-4 times. So we're going to assume they're not all lying.
Right.
You know, so this means they're getting proposals. So obviously those guys are marriage minded, and them proposals ain't coming out of nowhere. And then these women are saying no, and they're saying no in their early 30s, like they got time. We're not even talking about, I could get if you're 23, 24, and then you get to 27, 20, 29. I get that. But you're talking about women like 34, 35, talking about, I'm not ready for marriage, but they comfortable with having a baby. Now, I want you to show that these are dudes, the Black manosphere wasn't saying that before. So that argument that you're making, that would have been a lot more powerful before Kevin. Now we see that these, even with marriage-minded men, these women are just playing like they got time, and then they want to get to 43 and then think they got time. So my thing is, I will say this, and I call this more of a purple pill space, which is why I always tell people, I'm talking about like the conversation we're having right now.
Right,
which is
right,
why
right,
I say don't necessarily pigeonhole you in one space, because you can
right,
talk about that, because then people say, well, there's no manosphere about red pill. That's why I say don't even do that. But if dudes want to talk about marriage, there are black men clearly with Kevin's numbers that want to be married.
right.
Cool. If you want to talk about that mentality, talk about it. There's a website called blackandmarriedwithkids.com. Are you familiar with it?
No, but I'll
Okay.
definitely look it up.
Yes, I first heard of it on Boyce Watkins' thing. It was I saw talk to the owner. The owner is a black dude, but he actually runs it with his wife. They do a
Okay.
website, Black Married with Kids. It is a big website. It is
Right.
grown. So my thing is, if marriage is a topic that you want to be in your portfolio, cool. But but the thing is, I think people need to do a better job showing what that looks like. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Shay Sade is married.
Okay.
Perfect example. You see dudes interacting with her stuff. She's gone on Bernard Riley, because what these dudes are seeing out here in the streets is hot girl summer. And they're seeing women that they may get one kid, and then they trying to act right. That's where the chameleon thing come from. They try and get some act right about them so they can get married, then start to flip. And so you got a lot of dudes that they're married, but quite frankly, they don't know where these chicks are. They like, and they think it ain't about getting the mind right. It's like, show me the women and I'll show you what got my stuff right. Even when Kevin came into the space, the people that Kevin was initially helping were dudes that were in IT. These are dudes that are in their late 30s, early 40s. They were in IT and everything, that mixed thing. You saw what Dennis Berling said. He was ready to move to the DR. He found the chick. He got engaged. So a lot of the dudes are already ready. They just want women that actually are serious about it and not trying to, they're not trying to play the cash out game. And so as a space or as a niche, I think if we do a better job showing that, I think that'll help, because really, like,
Okay.
I mean, even like you got a Melanie King where, and I'm talking, she's divorced, but I mean, she was married. So, I
Right.
mean, can we really show a lot of women? We got a lot of women that were in situationships. They had a kid. And I'm not hating on no chick in that situation, but I'm just saying that's what a lot of women. And then they're trying to talk about, they want to negotiate. But when it comes to actually standing up to a lot of these women, saying some of them do more than others, I don't know. So, I mean, understand a lot of what these dudes are saying in the chat, I don't take. So I used to take it too seriously. I take it seriously, but I understand that's white noise. And I'm not saying it falls on the women, but I think a lot of more dudes are willing to show up in the right way. I think they're closer than what people think. It's
Right.
just,
Say that too.
it's on this, well, if dudes get their mind right, the women will magically show up. And I wouldn't even I'm not even saying you're saying that, but
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah.
you
I
gotta
ain't
learn,
saying that one.
you gotta go where these women are. You gotta know where to hunt for these women. One of the reasons I talk about intercultural dating is because then you're gonna expand that pool of black women. And here's another thing too. How does that, somebody might ask me, how does that benefit black women? How is that you not taking shots at black women on the low? I'm gonna tell you how. Because women respond to forced competition. The greatest power a man has in this society, the way it's done now, is a power of choice. When black men decided that they were gonna not choose, I'm not even saying getting married, I'm just talking about choose what they want and stand on their standards. How can women take men seriously if men say what they want but don't actually build themselves into being what they want and then go get what they want in big numbers? What black women have learned from black men is they can wait you out, and at the end of the day, you're gonna come back to that pussy. That's why they show up that way. This is why I tell black women on my platform, if you think you can do better than black men, go get you a white man. In fact, I'll help you find one. If you really think the grass is always greener like that, because what you got is a lot of women wishfully thinking, and they ain't really going over there so they know what they got to deal with. And here's the thing. Some of y'all can get a dude that's better than a bottom show Brad. I've seen it. So if you really think you can do better and that's a better deal, go take it. Because I'm tired of people throwing arrows back and forth. I'm like, if y'all don't want to be with each other, look, I don't have this thing where the black community needs to exist. If we want to be here, then we gonna need to be serious about being here. If not, then we need to go the ways that we need to go. It's that simple. But all of this kind of World War I, like kill zone, no ground is not being gained nowhere for years. Nah, screw that. It's that we need to come to the table for real, and as individuals as well as a group. So if dudes were more serious about that, saying, look, I'm going to date who's here. I want a black woman. I want them to act a certain way. I'm going to do what I need to do to get it. Then women will have no choice but to respond to that, because that's the market. But too many dudes be wanting to play that I want to live up under a chick. See, Stu, when you talking, it ain't so much the dudes are on some like they ain't got their shit together. They get too comfortable with the apartment in a chick's name. They get too comfortable in homosexual
That's
mode.
what I'm talking about. Right. Come on.
Wow.
Come
So
on.
a lot of it, it becomes, if the woman ain't saying nothing directly, even if they throwing little shots here or there and how they're acting. Or this is why when you was talking about, if you have somewhere to stay, even if the chick go bad, a lot of these dudes don't, because they put too much trust in a woman and in a relationship on that, which you should never have nothing in the chick's name, like on no apartment where your name ain't on there. And quite frankly, it ain't even gonna be jointly in our name. But the point is that's usually the situation and how that's showing up. It's not that you got these raggedy ass dudes. Because I'm gonna keep it real. A lot of the raggedy, because what raggedy ass black men are gonna do is just fuck fat, ugly women and be good.
Damn.
Dude, black men ain't like non-black men, but black men ain't out here talking about I need to have an 8, 9, or a 7 and then I'm broke, unless they know, as Ron will say, they got Mr. Goodbar, where I call it dick currency, where I ain't got no money, but they got, sexual skills. And then let's be clear here, a lot of women, they like, I got my own, so shit, that's something I can't get as easily. So that has more currency than actual money, which is why a lot of women be treating a lot of these dudes that got paper like tricks. And dudes that may show up. So it's not about, well, can we go on a date? These chicks are talking about, I want to go to Ruth Chris on a first date. I'm like, are you what? And they say that because they know if they take big fences, some idiot is going to come along the line and do that. But also, that's not really what they value. See, if you a dude where you show up with this overwhelming sexual charisma, then the women will do what you want, because that's really what a lot of women value, because when they're younger, that's what's harder for them to get. It's easier for them to get men to spend money on them and put dudes together that's willing to do that. It's harder for dudes to put it down. And so they value that more because that's what the market is. Go ahead, TJ.
Wow, you growing us real today, youngin.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie now. Look, I had to shut up on that one.
Well, these are my observations.
I mean, but here I asked brother to put this up, and again, maybe I don't know if I'm reading too much in the chat, but I'm like, marriage ain't for everybody, and I get that. And again, yeah, we need to change the laws, but until then, either you want to get married or you don't. Straight up, no chaser. Either you want to get married or you don't. So again, if men want to be married, if women want to be married, I'm going to advocate for that. Yeah, the laws need to be changed, but it's interesting because this is anecdotal, but this is my second marriage and Mr. Randolph's third. With my first marriage, when I divorced my daughter's father, and I did divorce him, I never tried to take him for anything. Matter of fact, we had no prenup. I left with what I came with. He left with me. So there are women who are not vindictive. There are. I mean, and I know I can't be an anomaly. I know I can't.
You got situations now. There's a Facebook post a post that went real viral, and I'm not gonna go into another monologue, where a woman said exactly what you said, and other women started attacking her. What you talking about? You didn't take him for nothing, girl. You stupid. And these are
they
younger
be grow
women.
real, because I'm here for it all. I wish they would.
Yeah, so you got, because they were trying to make a point, like the point you were making, that every woman doesn't do that. This is an example of what I did, and to be fair to those other women, not to really be fair, but just to give you the full context, one of the reasons she said she didn't do that is because she wanted, probably similar reasons, she wanted the father of her child to be in the best position to co-parent. Yeah. So she saw it in her best long-term interest to leave it amicably. because that means because he wanted to be obviously in their kid's life that they had together, and she probably felt like it'd be less problems. I mean, she didn't think it out like that. That's just who she was. And the women were like, no, he's supposed to do what he's supposed to do, and then you need to use the government to tax that. So what happens, and this is another thing I'm gonna say too, this is why women being in the relationship niche is very important, because what's been going on up until recently, and this is kind of, you can look at this before Kevin and after Kevin, is a lot of women would be attacked once they were small. So when you look at a woman like a Chantel Simone, Shay Sade, the other women in the other sphere will come over here and just put down the gauntlet on these women, flagging them, tagging them, all of that. And so the more you have a saturation of women seeing each other, they can kind of support each other. And one thing with Kevin showed is there's a whole bunch of other women that think like this, like as far as agree with what Kevin's saying, because Kevin's got like 400,000 female subscribers. So these women can kind of emotionally piggyback off each other, because then it's like, I got to sacrifice my femininity because I got to get down in the mud with these females. And so that makes it harder for these women to kind of pick off. This is why these chicks will talk about, like, they'll say somebody like a Jessica X is bullying. Jessica X is not bullying these chicks. She just gives her perspective, but that's what gets said. Or these women are being called pick-me's, which I'm going to tell you, and I'm sorry, it's going to be a little bit vulgar, but when a woman calls a woman a pick-me, that is essentially equivalent to a white supremacist male calling a white woman a nigger lover. That's how I hear it.
Right there. I got to clip that right there. Say that one more time.
When a black woman calls another black female, this is a fellow sister, a pick-me, they are essentially doing the same thing as a white supremacist man calling a white woman a nigger lover. And this is why they also, when they see mammy, these women are not dumb. I'm talking about over there. They know what mammy means. They has literally transformed mammy to mean anybody to give something of a damn. They are calling Tina Knowles a mammy. This is a woman that she was a beautician early in life. She worked hard with her husband to do what they did with Beyonce. Obviously, that was their vision, but she was a strong support. She saw her on live television check Mr. Lawson. And a lot of dudes gave her a pass because of, like, that was just one time, so they didn't really want to jump on an older lady. But dudes did not like that. Black men did not like that. Right. So this is not a woman that is a weak woman. And they checked Mr. Knowles as soon as she had that baby on her, because that's what her and Beyonce did. That, remember, they ain't got no son. This is her, Solange, and Beyonce. Remember, Solange is Tina's daughter, just like Beyonce is. And yet they were calling her a mammy. Because of what? Because she came up with an docuseries.
Because they're bitter bitches, that's why.
But the thing is, you're talking about a woman that this is not a woman that she is a woman, but nobody's going to say that she's just bending the knee and kissing a black man's ass just because he showed up. She would never be accused of that. So my point is, those are the women that they're calling mammy. So any woman is somewhat agreeable. I mean, y'all are mammies just by being married. You married to a black man, you're a mammy. You ain't never had sex with a white man, you're a mammy. This is what they're doing over there. And you got women that are young, that they hear that because they're in the algorithm more. There was a video of Bernard Riley where we were talking to this younger girl, and she was like 23, 24. Her mom was she went gay. I mean, it is what it is. And she didn't go deep into that, but she said that her dad fought for her so he could raise her, fought for her in court, won in court. It's not to say her mom's not bad, but her mom's free-spirited. We'll say that. And she still had these thoughts about black men are a problem, even though her dad went into that dragon. I'm talking about the court system, the family court system, actually spent money, spent years, won so his daughter would not become like her mom. This is her words. Yet she still had this thing like black men were the problem. And that is to speak to how powerful the influence a lot of those women are.
Let me say this. If Maggie, the substitute teacher, if you're still in the chat, I believe, or I would like your voice on the panel. Because I know that you are a woman who has been divorced, and you have 2 sons, and I would love your input into this conversation as well. So if you're in the chat and you can come up, I'll be glad to drop the link for you.
Brother,
But
real quick, can I offer this to this point too, with as respect to women, you know, what going back to the thing about women want to have somebody take them a root Chris and all that kind of stuff. What I'm trying to do for whoever will listen, the ladies that will listen, to peel back the layers as to what matters. And again, I wish I could think of the 5 things my daughter said that when she knew she wanted to be married, what she was looking for in a husband. But none of it had to do with looks. My daughter is wise beyond her years. But one thing I say that I taught my daughter to be a lady, to be to walk, to be with class, dignity, respect, elegance. I'm trying to bring that back because I never taught her that a man's worth is based on what he can do for her. Mr. Randolph, this, like I said, this is his 3rd marriage, my 2nd. His 2nd wife was, she took him. I'll just say that. So understandably, he would be on guard when he met me. But what did I show him? And I've said it once, I'll say it again. Our first date was dinner and a movie at a hamburger joint. Okay. If I would have been so superficial, I would have missed out on a wonderful man who has bought his wife, that would be me, a brand new house. You understand me? So again, I'm trying to get the women to feel what is important. What is important? And it's not going to some damn Ruth Chris and having somebody spend some money on some fucking lashes, hair, nails, all that. And I'm also telling the ladies, when you get a good man, because I did a show a few months back ago, say, sis, you played yourself. Because there was a good man who was dating a friend of mine. She was overthinking it and started playing games and stuff. I said, you played yourself. So I grow you real. I will grow you.
yeah, and
Ed, you said something. I just want to make sure I have personal clarity. You said, is it dudes that need? No, Maggie, sub, you don't have to cam up. You don't have to cam up. I'm gonna drop the link. You don't have to cam up.
yeah, we may have to do a part 2 because I will have
Yes.
to go in a little bit, but
Okay.
but I mean, studies, like, a lot of dudes are open. Like, here's the thing, here's the truth. Like, you have the red pill space, and the red pill space is really there to protect dudes. But there's a lot of dudes that are, even in the black manosphere, they're open to marriage. They may not say it because they know they're gonna get jumped on, but we got a lot of content creators that are married. Like, quite a few of them that are married. And so
Right.
the thing about it is, or they either are married or they were married and they don't have a negative thing towards marriage. My thing
Right.
is this, my position is this. I know what I'm going to do as far as what I do, but
Mhm.
if dudes are dead set on getting married, I'd rather give them the information to make an intelligent decision, how to vet, how things to look for. And then obviously then be like, oh, you either do this or don't do that. So my thing is, I'm gonna send them to people that either that are married that can speak to that. Because I can tell you right now, a lot of the views that I have on marriage comes from married men. I've had plenty. I know dudes a couple of dudes that are they had no problem with women. They got a good looking black woman. They are married. We're married to black women. I know 2 dudes. I'm talking about offline that
Right.
they're widowers. And it was heartbreaking, some of the stuff they had to go through. But I mean, they said, if they didn't work out with my wife, I'm dating now. I'm that's they would say that jokingly, but they were serious. Like, not the same thing as their wife, but so a lot of black men that are married, a lot of them will keep it real if you ask them. So my stuff isn't informed by a whole bunch of dudes that aren't married. And I'm not even talking about dudes that are stepfathers, although that's in there. My
Right.
view of marriage, and so really I always go back to the laws. And I would say to women, it really incentivizes you to fix the laws, because if you want dudes to be more, and by the way, just not to put it on the women, I always say this: you've never seen a conservative white woman give back privileges that a liberal white woman won in law. So this is not just a black thing. Even Republicans that are some, and I'm not trying to bring politics into it, but you would think Republicans would be for increasing the amount of marriages. by dialing back the laws because women can be more employed than they ever were. And even with alimony, there's ways of getting folks with child support. So even if you make alimony not as bad, you can make up for that in child support. So if you do have kids with, so there's things to do it to still preserve what a lot of women have, but to update it. But they don't tend to do that. You never hear them talk about doing a marriage or anybody that's trying to run for office. They don't do that. So the point is that there's nobody doing it. But when you would think that women would, and even outside of a legal thing, again, if women want to talk about stepdaddy season, you're just now hearing that. And even then, they're playing. Like, they're not really saying, what can we do to get dudes to do this, even if it's against their best interest or feel better about doing it. It's like it's the way they show up. It's like you've been taught to show up with this, I'm all that, even when you're not. Now, if you are, people will I'm going to say it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Chloe Bailey is somebody I pay attention to.
Okay.
When you look at how Chloe Bailey is somebody that could truly be an international superstar. But and she's somebody like, she's natural body, hair, all of that. But what did they got her doing? They got her bounce her ass like a stripper because that's what Cardi did. That's what Nicki did. That's where Cardi came from. So I get why Cardi did it, but you got women that are showing that you're pulling women into that. That's I'm not saying that that's not really who she is, but that's not the image that she fits because that's what's there. The women are not seeing. See, at least women had Beyonce, where Beyonce would still shake her ass, but she do it in a way where it's like, okay, it could be. I don't want to say, but you get what I'm saying. Beyonce didn't do it raunchy. She didn't do it raunchy. You had degrees. Kelly Rowland. You had degree. You had options. Who are the women seeing that are not straight? You show, TJ, this is why I ask. Who are the females seeing that are not on some hoe shit? Like, straight up, like they out of the pole stripper shit. Who? Can anybody name me one person, and then in that one person, they ain't had their body, with massive plastic surgery? You got...
Well, there's one, but she doesn't get the, I mean, and she might be out there, but even like the Jennifer Hudsons, but again, that she's not going to get the attention as these other.
My bad. I'm really talking about with these chicks in their 20s now, but yeah, Jennifer Hudson.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
And to be fair,
I had to literally try to call my daughter for that, but like, hey, I had this question show up. Can you give me a name? You're right. I mean, for somebody in my age category, I got to sit here and be like, okay, now what kind of content can I make? Because, heck, like I said, I'm not single. And I don't want to always produce content lying to people or giving an impression. And then dudes are like, well, Uncle Stu, you kind of out the loop because this is where we at, and you producing content like that's where you at, so help me to help them. And then, let's do a part 2.
Yeah, like I said, check out that website, Black and Married with Kids. Even the amicable divorce thing, does it still happen? I would talk about the cohabitation because true, and Angry Man used to talk about that a lot. A lot of dudes used to say, they used to be cool with long-term relationships, but there was the paperwork, because the paperwork is how you got fucked. Right. And some people agree with that. Some people didn't, off of religious grounds, off of other grounds, off of legacy grounds. But he was one of the ones that really popularized that. Okay. I would also say, even look at Fantasia. Fantasia is not the most attractive woman. She's not Maya. I mean, I'm not saying she's ugly, but she's not Maya, But Fantasia messed up and cheated with a married woman, and in North Carolina they got a law where
that's the law. Yeah,
she got hit up with that, but she ended up getting with a dude the very good dude doesn't make her money, but he makes well into the 6 figures. And guess what? She was talking about, well, I'm worried about she was worried about her money, and then he said, okay, draft the prenup with your lawyers and give it to me, and I'll sign it. He didn't even look at it. He signed it. They got married because he didn't care about that because he had his own money. Another person. This is to show you how manipulative. I'm not trying to just blame it on the media. Women need to start checking other women because men cannot check women like women can. And that's gone. Like, I've often said that you've gotten rid of the Judge Hatchet black woman and you've replaced them with the rise of the Tokyo Toni black grandmother. Where you've gotten rid of the Judge Hatchet grandmother and you've rise the Tokyo Toni grandmother. Tokyo Toni is the mother of Black China. That so basically you're dealing with grandmothers that's on some whole shit. Because that's how it started with that X stuff going into the 70s. Because people forget drugs didn't just start in the 80s. With black folks were on heroin and shit like that in the 70s too, wilding out. And so they're going into grandmother status. So you're now gotten and this is not to say the dudes are on point, because all throughout all these generations, you didn't have dudes that really drew the line. Here's the thing, just to end it, I'll end it with this, and then
Okay.
I'll stay a little bit for Maggie to say what you got to say.
Okay.
But this is why I want people to understand about the generations where it messed up. You dudes kept on doing it where if I do this, the women will eventually come through, because they saw as if you drew a line, you would be attacking the women. What they didn't do is, how many dudes really went, I'm talking about balls to the wall, really pushing the paint on women when they were challenging Shahrazad Ali. They may have cheerleaded for her, but they didn't really say, this is a queen. What she says, we're backing it. And any chick that has a problem, we have a problem. Letting her know that when she speaks, because what she's speaking on, she has the totality of the weight of the men behind her. So when Iyanla Vanzant was playing those political games, dudes just said, I say it this way, how many black women can count on black men to protect them against bad black women? I argue a lot of black men today can't tell the difference. They don't know. They don't know the difference between a good black woman and a bad black woman. I would argue that's been a problem for a long time now. So what happens is people wonder, well, why aren't the women? Because Kevin used to say this, with women speaking, why don't women speak on against what's going on? Because they're going to be on their own. And that's equivalent to telling a chick to go ahead and walk in traffic, because these other chicks are showing up like Vikings. They don't care what they do. If they look, you got a chick that if it's to believe to be true with Jessica X, this is the second time that they've doxed an innocent female because they trying to go after her ass. This is the type of stuff that that women are willing to do to attack any woman that gets off code. Sure, we talk crap on our end, but we ain't going that hard of dudes having their own opinion. We just saying whether we agree or no. So why would these women go out there and do that? Why would they go out there and then check other women when they gonna have to get dragged out fights? And so that's part of one of the reasons why it's gotten this bad. And then what happens is now it's like we gotta change that trajectory. So dudes have to say all this stuff. That's why I said the good thing is that you have more women come online and see it. Then they can kind of create a feedback loop where they support each other. And then you're gonna have more dudes. You already kind of see that with Kevin, TLA, and all of that. And that creates a different climate where these women can't just say it's a whole bunch of dudes that are incels, that aren't married, that they hate women. Because you see, like, look at this panel. It makes it harder to make that argument. And then you look at what's going on over there. Abort black male babies. Where I'm like, even if you go along with that, women got to get impregnated by black men or abort them. So why don't you just stop dating them in the first place? Or let's not even talk about what abortion does psychologically and physically to a woman. What, to spite a black man? I didn't think of that. That was Shay Sade that thought of that. Because that is a true woman's perspective. Because I don't think about how abortion affects a woman psychologically because I'm not a woman. So you're seeing that now. And so, to leave it a little bit, a hope, people think I'm just a doom and gloom dude. I just tell it like it is. How you take it is not my problem.
No, I think you're 100% right. And I'm going to just say this for a minute because I want Maggie to substitute teacher. And when she speaks, I want y'all to know that I'm going to get her right now. I'm going to lock her down for a date because she's going to get a one-on-one interview with me. She ain't going to be hanging out with TLA. She got to show up right here. So I got you, Maggie. But, when you spoke on Fantasia, because I worked in High Point, you got to also understand Fantasia came from although she spoke about the breakup of her family, she also came from a strong grandmother that was hardcore on that family. So she had a smell and a whiff of structure too. It's just that High Point is a very unique city all in all itself. But with that being said, Maggie.
Hello.
Don't let that substitute teacher fool y'all. She be cooking up a storm with her big smile all over the place.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone.
Evening. Have you heard majority of the
Good
conversation?
evening.
You know what? I stopped by to show support. I didn't expect for you to bring me on, but I am listening and I did hear what your panelists were saying. So, like you said, my channel, I usually stay on the the neutral subject of cooking and health and wellness and my weight loss journey. I do have an opinion about this topic, but you're right. Like your guests have said, I'm one of those that when I've spoken out before, they come for me. And I
Wow.
just don't want the heat, so I just stay away. But I do see the importance of setting the example. And for those of us, older women, I have two boys, like you said. I am a
Mhm.
divorcee, so I don't have daughters, but I definitely want to help create that example and show that you can co-parent. Divorce does not have to be horrible. Of course it's painful, but I am amicably divorced from their father, and we need our men. My boys are 12 and 14 now. One is in military school, and the other is now with his dad, because at this age, he needs more from dad than he can get from me. So I definitely believe that trying to ruin someone just because of hurt feelings, it bites you in the end. And I think what I put in my super chat, for any of us who want to remarry or be in relationships again, I do consider myself a very proud pick me. Future men, watch how you treat or treated your ex, and they use that information to decide if and how they want to move forward with you.
You know what? I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna let Ed go. That is the latter part of what you said is so powerful. That has always been, being that I'm older, I would always ask, so how about, why are you single? And they'll give me the answer, and I'll say, so, and they don't realize that in that answer, I know exactly how you treated your ex. And if I know you sit there and say, I had 3 men, they all cheated, or he did this, or he did that, and you never once showed me where your accountability in that relationship lie, you don't get an answer from me. I leave. And that is the most powerful statement you made. What I am going to say and am going to do is, Ed, let's set this up one more time. Let's do it. Let's do a part two. And in our part two, Maggie, substitute teacher, I want you to look in the private chat. TJ got some information for you.
Okay.
Um, and let's do this again. And Maggie, I will make sure that we do this again. I would like you to be on the panel. And at the same time, I want you to go ahead and be cammed up, when that panel happens, because I want to make sure that you're safe. But I also need this panel to be not only safe, but be informative, not only safe, but truth got to come out. I'm working with my brothers, but I also got sisters who do come into this space. And there's some truth that definitely got to be told. And we in that older generation, we got to put in the work, because we dying out here. Our community, the Black community, is dead last in education, dead last in understanding money. We are dead last in a whole lot of things. And we are number one in ignorance.
Yeah, unfortunately, we know how to put our efforts towards the things that don't really matter. We know all of the celebrity gossip. We know all of the dance moves. We know all of the tea that's being spilled. But to your point, our community is suffering. And, I can admit I've been one of those kind of living my quiet, comfortable life, but it's time. I'm a huge supporter of the manosphere, usually behind the scenes, not just for myself as a woman, but more importantly, I have boys, now young men, and I see what their future is going to look like. So whatever I can do to support, I absolutely will. I did get the message in the chat, and I'd be happy to cam up and and come on in a future day.
Thank you. Thank you. Ed, I really appreciate you coming by. We definitely rocked and roll. You gave me a lot of things to think about, a lot of things that, matter of fact, you changed my mind in certain areas. So it's like, wow, I had a mind renewal. So that lets you know that regardless of your age and regardless of everything, everybody can at least understand that Uncle Stu is willing to have the conversation. Again, once again, we proved that on a platform, you can have two men talking, no arguing, no talking over each other. Again, we proved on this platform that you can have women on this platform having a tough conversation, no arguing, no pushing back, no belittling. And so let that be an example. If you've never seen it before, understand that you've seen it right here, right now, in live time. So, Ed, do you have a last word that you want to say? Or, excuse me, Maggie, do you have a last word that you want to say?
You're too kind. Thank you for inviting me. No, I think you do a great job, Uncle Stu. I appreciate you being the standard bearer, and I look forward to our next conversation. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ed, you got a last word?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great conversation. I mean, one of the things I want the Black manosphere to be ultimately is to I want to leave it with this. A couple of things. Number one, people ask me what is the main goal of the Black Manosphere. To me, the main goal of the Black Manosphere is to serve as a network. When I say a network, I mean a communications pipeline to most Black to like Black men in the United States of America. We need to create that communications pipeline because and then what gets advocated within that pipeline just depends on what dudes care about. And yeah, there does need to be productive things in that. Like at best, there's certain things I'm going to talk about because that's what I want to talk about. But I do try to serve as kind of like a repository, like kind of like a thing to where I can aggregate a lot of information. So everybody, people can speak on things I can't speak on based on their experiences, their life experiences, what their skill set is. And if people want that, if they give that, I send them there. It's just like when I asked you about the website Black and Married with Kids, letting people know what's out there for what they want. Also, I mean, I can name a lot of channels when it comes to Black men content creators. Like if somebody has boys and they want to do more of like people knowing where they come from and stuff like that. You have like there's a channel by the name of Home Team History and From Nothing, which basically if Hidden Colors was like a YouTube channel, it would be this, and it's really really good. From Nothing similar. I mean, you got some people doing some amazing things that they're not necessarily in the Black manosphere, but they're
Right.
Black folks on YouTube, and same thing with women. Like
Right.
and even on the female side, what women need to do is they need to start like especially off one of the best things you can do as a woman is especially well, even if you have boys, because my mom had nothing but sons, is if you're looking, you know, if you may not get make content, but if there's a female you come across or you think has the right message and it's an honest message, you need to get that to as many women as you can because they are like minded. Like that maybe they're like minded with you, they're quiet because that empowers that woman. Either through the algorithm or through a lot of stuff. So when you look at a female like Shay Sade, I'll even say, even Danica Marie, people that are married to Black men, or they're giving the right message. And look, I'm not against like women dating now because the reality is there's situations where I get it. Like George Lucas's partner is a Black woman, and you wouldn't have Red Tails if it wasn't for her coaching George Lucas to do it. So my point is, so really the women need to really get behind some of these women and really share their stuff. That way these women can kind of be more empowered to get this message if you all really want to counter the stuff without directly getting involved. Because the more the women speak, I'm not saying we need the women to speak up, but the more the women speak up, the more it doesn't be seen as like a gender war. Because a lot of dudes don't want to be out here saying what Black women don't do. The truth is, we prefer you all doing that because that's your lane. Just like how Stu prefers punching. I don't mean that in a bad way, but that's what my uncles, my cousins, second cousins did.
Yeah.
Saying you a dude that need worry about being at your standard, and then a lot of stuff will fall into place. Dudes really would prefer to do that it's just now, it's just because it's like there is nobody really checking the women no more like it used to be. And that's so if we need to get back into that quote unquote balance, that's one way of doing that. And there's a lot of I may put together a list again just so people can kind of see the different channels, you know, and different folks out there so they know there's variety. I'm already working on a productivity list of different people that's offering different productivity services like IT and stuff like that. So I ultimately want the manosphere to be a repository of really good information, as well as that core mission of trying to create a communication pipeline amongst Black men. We do have a ways to go, but I'll leave it at that. So it's been great.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank each and every single one of you. I hope that you subscribe to this channel because as you're seeing, I am putting the work together. There was an argument once that said, where is the Black channels and what is the results? Ladies and gentlemen, you saw the results. You're going to keep seeing results. I am mission focused, results driven. And I appreciate each and every single one of you that hung out, rocked out, spoke out, you know, and didn't even what I call fade out, you know, didn't fade out. We can be on two different sides. If you're still here, only thing I ask you to do is after this stream, put some comments in the chat. Like it, love it. I respond to comments, all of them. Put it in the chat. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're feeling. And better yet, let me know how I can help you be the better man or woman that you are today. Let me know. If I don't know things, I can't help you. If I don't know what you need, I can't help you. But I am here to do the work and to find solutions. I'm not just going to tell you pick yourself up by the bootstraps and you ain't got no boots and you ain't got no straps. Let's work together. Let's solve whatever we need to solve. One day at a time, one video at a time, and I'm here for you. Remember, you're not a number, you're a person, and that's how I look at you as a human being. I love each and every single one of you. May the peace and blessing of God be with you forevermore. Maggie, substitute teacher, we are out.
All right. Amen and amen. Good night.
Good night.